what was done in Milestone 4 and what we're
Yeah,
moving towards.
that'd be kind of cool
But
to know what
let's
happened.
start with some of our things that we just need to get out of the way right now, which is first and foremost, we do have our YouTube subscriber comment. If you don't know, if you subscribe to us over on YouTube and you comment as a subscriber on our development update video, you could be chosen to be spotlighted. And today's spotlight, I will switch over to that scene, is from Papa Smurf
Oh boy.
6834. And their question is, are we months away from the Alpha 2 or years, plural? Any kind of indication of the timetable would be greatly appreciated. And I think from my team, they would also love for us to set that expectation because they deal with this question all the time.
Yes,
And so I'm
yes.
kind of throwing it to you, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a common question. Desiring minds wish to know. We are not years away from Alpha 2.
Oh, that's good.
But
That's good.
also Alpha 2 is not right around the corner. As a public project, as a project that is visible from the outside during its development, it's important that we execute well during these testing phases. And early on in the project, I made some missteps in when we were anticipating coming to certain testing periods. Obviously, I have learned a considerable amount over what it takes to build these games over the last 6 years, and we made a promise to the community that we would not give dates again in the future unless we were very certain that we were going to hit those dates, or at least be very close to hitting them. And so, as a result of that, we have our internal schedule. We have our internal milestones. We have our production roadmap that we operate from, and the teams operate very well from these expectations internally as well. But to answer that question, no, we're not years away from Alpha 2. Internally, we are going to be doing some testing probably late this year and
Okay.
early next year as it relates to Alpha 2. And Alpha 2 is going to be, kind of a slow roll out of testing. So our desire is to get in as quickly as possible, test some of the core systems and loops that we've integrated, since our Alpha 1, and get those vetted by player feedback and experience that we can iterate upon, essentially, and get an opportunity. And that's going to be all public, right? You guys know that Alpha 2 is a non-NDA'd environment testing. But prior to Alpha 2, we will test some more spot-oriented testing with some of the Alpha 1 testers and/or PI, leading up to what would eventually become the Alpha 2 launch.
Okay.
Um,
And we'll probably start with PI so that we have a smaller group, and then we'll add on to it with our spot testing with Alpha 1 users. And then as we're ready, we'll bring in Alpha 2 users, and then, then we'll go more public with the big
yeah,
stuff.
and I think all of us have experienced. So all of us have experienced launches of games or testing platforms that we felt needed more time from a consumer, from a player's perspective. And
That's true. That's true.
our approach, our philosophy is that essentially the game will be ready when it's ready. We're not striving for perfection. We're striving to achieve what the core loop is anticipated to be, what we've promised, what we're building right now. That is the goal, and we understand just how important it is to succeed during these testing periods, and obviously for launch, because MMOs traditionally really only get one stab at that launch,
Right.
and they can work to improve the game after launch if there's hiccups and whatnot that we've experienced, obviously. But really, we want to execute well on that initial launch, and what that means for us is we have to spend that time to ensure that what we are building is sustainable, is extensible, is performant, and represents what the core philosophy of gameplay loops are intending to be. And we're building a massive project. I mean, this is probably the most ambitious fantasy MMORPG to
For
date
sure.
at a launch frame, right? Obviously, other products, other franchises have had a decade plus to introduce and trickle out content, And one of the one of the difficulties of launching an MMO, a new MMO, is that you have to compete or try to compete and contend with all of that content that's available, because it creates a really strong social elasticity for the players of those MMOs. And we want to be ensuring that our core gameplay loops are enjoyable, are fulfilling, and have content that keeps players invested for a long time to come. And because that's our goal, and we have a lot of those systems to build, the team is hard at work creating them in preparation for Alpha 2, which is probably going to be it is going to be one of our biggest test environments up until launch is Alpha 2. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
major slice of the game. So,
I mean, like Steven said, we only get, one chance for first impressions. So it's very important for us. If Alpha 1 hadn't had gone as well as it did, people might not be as excited for Alpha 2. So thinking about the future of that and the longevity of our project and making sure that people are, going to love what we're creating as much as possible. And as we've said many times, we're constantly going to take feedback. And there are, decisions that we've made as, on the design front that we want to come to fruition. And we know that sometimes it's not what you guys are always interested in, but we were like, give us a chance, play it, give us feedback, and we will, alter things as we go forward. But I think we're really excited, just as excited for you guys to join us and see what we're creating. I mean, from a developer's perspective, there's nothing greater than seeing someone enjoy the product that you've created. And I mean, obviously, we all want to enjoy it too. I think that we've had a lot of fun internally, which we might be sharing some of that internal fun with you guys next month. But I like, we've definitely, trying to make sure that we're creating something. And I think one of the things that people might not realize is that MMOs take a really long time to make. That's why we're like, this is a journey that you're going on with us. You're getting to see what development is like. And I think that
from the get-go.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Yeah.
And what's going to be fun is you're going to get to see that journey. And then when we look back on this at launch, we're going to be like, wow, it's crazy seeing how, even now, looking at what was the beginning of Ashes of Creation and what it is now, is crazy.
The cool thing is that journey is likely going to be expressed as even part of a documentary when we're done with this thing, right? We record all of our meetings, all of our sessions, everything is kept on a record. So when we're done launching this product, we have an opportunity to really give an under the hood look at the Herculean effort it's taken to get to where we are today and where we will eventually be soon enough. So
I want to bring up on that front is, the feedback that you guys give us. Roshan and Vacnar are amazing. They put together these phenomenal reports. We record those meetings that we have with the designers and developers when we go over that feedback. And it's really, I can't wait for you guys to see like that side of it, where you get to see like, hey, we really were taking in your feedback. And most of the time in those meetings, it's like, yeah, we're already planning on doing that and that and that. And some of the extra ideas were like,
it's validation.
That's cool. Yeah, it's validating like what we're saying. And the issues that and concerns that you guys have are also the issues and concerns we have. So it's making sure that we're all on the same page. But I think it'll be cool for you to experience that and see the other side of it. But obviously we have to, be careful what we share prior to launch, just because, like we said, we only have one chance to impress people,
to make an impression. Absolutely. And just a last point on that topic, and then I think we can move on.
Yeah, we got to move on. we got a whole show for you guys.
Exactly. Is that this journey is not for everyone. The patience it requires, the understanding, the vision in looking and seeing where something is at now and where it will be in the future. That is a very specific type of individual, and requires unique patience, I think. Our development, like every development, is never going to be perfect, and we're going to have areas that slip, and areas where we can improve. And hopefully, those of you who have watched for a very long time now, our development progress, you will have seen those improvements from, day one to today and to tomorrow. And it's okay if following development is not for you.
Yeah.
At some point,
Turn it off.
yeah,
Go play other games and
exactly.
come back when you're ready to play.
And at some point, there's going to be an opportunity now to just download the game and play, and that is going to be the experience in and of itself. So,
100%.
yes.
And with that, we're gonna do a little announcement.
Okay.
Next month, you're gonna get 2 live streams. So on April 7th at 11 a.m. Pacific, our normal time,
Well,
but
I've got
just a little earlier. So
what,
literally next
6
Friday,
to watch
we will be
then.
doing a creative director community Q&A that will be with a few content creators. Chibi Bree from the Golden Feather will be joining us. Richie SH, if you've watched any of their YouTube videos, and of course Samurg from Ashes Pathfinders. And we're really excited. They've accumulated some amazing questions from their communities and from the community as a whole. We really wanted to kind of give some love to the people who have been really supporting us and being part of the community for so long. And we hope that you guys enjoy it. They got some good questions. Steven hasn't read them yet.
No,
maybe we'll add some spicy ones in there.
I don't typically read questions prior.
He doesn't like to. And my team's like, why won't he read them? I was like, he doesn't want to.
I don't want to overthink the response. So I typically just, I want to answer off the cuff as much as I can. Yeah. But I'm excited about that. That's going to be a fun, I think, conversation to have.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll do more of those in the future with other content creators. Don't worry. Hold on. Hold your pants. Some people are spamming their favorite creators. But obviously, as we get closer to Alpha 2, there will be more opportunities for hyping things up and getting more excited. This is just more so to answer some questions from the community and make sure that we can give some love to some folks. And then with that, we also have just a reminder that the cosmetics will be swapping over for Flavors of Fellerin, and that will be April.
The Tower of Carfen from a lore perspective. And then in addition, we wanted to showcase some new systems that have been brought online from a narrative perspective as well, as it relates to our story arcs. So this is a deep dive in both the lore of Carfen, as well as the system of our story arcs and how they change the world around you to reflect different chapters and or paths that story arcs can take based off of player activity. You'll see the world change a little bit. I want to preface that, of course, this is all a work in progress. You are taking a look at something that is still very much in the alpha phase, both visually and in particular, you'll notice before the transition of the zone, which happens about 6 minutes into this video, you'll see it in the non-active state. And there's some lighting there that we're still fixing and some of the materials and whatnot. But you're going to see it in the corrupt state after about the 6 minute mark. And it's pretty gnarly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
It's neat. It's different and more dynamic. And I think that people are going to like it. So
yes. So you guys will enjoy. We'll see you
on the flip side.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another stream from Vera. We have been building up, I think, to this moment a little bit in the showcase for the Tower at Carfen. And I think there's been some lore that we've released during last November's Extra Life live stream. We played through a portion, I believe, of this tower. And now we have an opportunity to take a look together, a little sneak peek, a small portion of this area and the lore behind it. And we're also going to take a focus with some of the developers that'll be joining us here in a second. I'll introduce them. Into the system of our story arcs and how that system works in reflecting the changes that players elicit from the world of Vera. So I want to introduce one of our senior designers, Scott. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing very good. Thank you for asking.
Welcome. Welcome to your design become reality.
Thank you.
This is Scott has been working on the narrative for this particular story arc that we're all going to see in a second, with his team, with whom we are joined by one of our designers, Aimee. Aimee, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good, Stephen.
Welcome. This is, I think, is this your first time on the stream?
It is, yeah.
That is awesome. Aimee is one of our incredibly talented designers who is helping create the narrative around Vera. And you guys may have played some of her quests in Alpha 1, actually. One in particular is I believe it was the Lost Pages and the that spider quest. Was that right, Aimee? Were those yours?
Those were my quests, yeah. Thanks for remembering them.
I know, they're great.
Yeah, I'm super excited to join today.
We're very excited to have you. And then, in addition, we have what is soon becoming a regular on the streams, Mr. Jeremy, one of our senior designers. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Happy to show off Scott's masterpiece creation here.
Yeah.
Easy.
Story arc.
Oh my goodness.
Laying it on thick.
I know. Wow.
Love it.
Pretty exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting.
I mean, I've always said that nodes is the new hotness that we've been showing, and story arcs are the new hotness we've been hiding.
Yes, agreed. Totally agree. So one of the first things that you guys are going to notice in this environment is that we have this perspective of the tower, and I think, Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about story arcs as a system?
Yeah, sure. So it's helpful, I think, to think about story arcs as kind of like a prepackaged tabletop campaign. They contain like all of the NPCs and quests and monsters, like all the things you need to make a cool fantasy story. They're not procedurally generated. We author them, we write all the dialogue, and we construct all the narrative beats and everything like that. But they will enter the world dynamically depending on the state that the world is currently in, how players have built up specific nodes, like what races control various nodes. We have plans to include lots of different things on top of that. But yeah, it's we don't have any quest hubs or anything like that in this game because players build up all the cities. So we had to get a system that kind of looks at what players are doing and can inject content into the world that makes sense for what they're doing.
So
I've always seen it as like the world decides in the state that it's in that we're gonna now play this module. We're gonna, because of the state of the nodes being in this way and certain races have this one, we're gonna play Curse of Strahd. We're gonna do Blood Still Do. We're gonna do those modules and things.
So one of the things that I find most unique about our story arc system is that they're intended to represent change within the story of what Vera is telling. And we don't just do that through these new quest logs and dialogue, but also by literally changing the environments and showing these active states that represent what is happening and what choices the players have made previously in the different chapters, perhaps, of other story arcs. Scott, I know that we have been working hard on this. Your team has been working particularly hard and with engineering to kind of stand this system up over the last several months. But you have the ability to push us into the next chapter manually, correct?
Yeah, normally this is a story that would require us to have built up some of the nodes in the area. Either you could just build up Miraleth directly to get access to where we're going, or any of the nodes in the Riverlands could have leveled up to a certain amount to have basically enabled the story to spawn. But I'll just turn this on for us now manually.
Let's see.
If that's good.
Get ready, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Welcome
I push it. Takes a second, but it will kick on.
to the Tower of Carfin.
Looks good. Looks real good.
And Houston.
There it
Houston.
goes.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Oh, things are getting red. The complete...
That's freaking cool.
What is that?
The
What
blood.
is going on?
Oh,
This
the
thing over
blood
here?
still due?
There it is. It's paying right now.
Oh
Crazy.
my gosh.
So yeah, when Storyarks come online, they change a lot in the environment. They update what monsters are in the world. They create quest NPCs, as you can see. Orin, he's not normally
Appreciate
here.
it, man.
Moved in
Appreciate
for
it.
the sake of this. And then yeah, new pathways can open up through the environment.
Shit.
Is the bridge moving?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dude,
Oh, that's nasty.
wicked.
What are the vines?
Appreciate the follows.
It's it's
Holy
corruption.
shit.
So a very terrible curse is sort of remaining here after a sort of desperate spell was cast during the Harbinger apocalypse. You saw a bit of that spell being replayed at the top of the tower there. But when the ancients were advancing toward the Aelan capital, where Carfin is sort of strategically positioned between where the Harbinger comet landed and the Aelan capital, the mages here, and Carfin was known throughout the Aelan Empire for its magical prowess. The head mage here did a very desperate and dangerous spell to slow the ancients' advance, and
And
what
that
you're
was to
seeing
buy
now
the
is the
time
result.
for the capital of Ayla, where they
Ain't
were
type
building
today.
one of the divine gateways.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Divine
So
portal
they,
open and
Freaking
people get out.
crazy.
right, they needed more time. They needed to make space for them. They did something pretty terrible to do that. It bought them the time, but as you can see, this once great city has suffered
This bridge,
a
like,
great cost.
you seen this
Wow,
one?
this is
Um,
cool.
Oh,
I
this
like the little
freaking
jump puzzle.
wicked.
This is awesome.
This
What
bridge
is
isn't
that?
here all the time? The story arc helped this bridge form. This bridge might also appear if you've leveled up Marileth enough to create kind of this pathway. Otherwise, there's other ways to get there, but more dangerous ways.
Is that a what is that down there?
That's a fiend golem or a
Fiend golem,
flesh
yeah.
golem
Ooh.
fiend version. Yeah.
Oh, I like how the light just lit up to showcase the body. That's crazy. That's super cool. And so now the the spawn tables around the city of Carfin have changed as a result of the story arc progression.
Right.
Okay.
So normally, when the city is not in its cursed state, you've got a whole subset of like constructs and various other like arcane things, like you saw the animated armors and stuff like that. While the
Defenses, yeah.
while the curse is in effect, we've got these watchholes, these seekers here, who they have their own sort of story and reason for being here while the curse is active.
Ultra seekers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And they've got their summoned watch wolves watching their backs as they're doing what they're doing.
Wow. The
Freaking
environment team did
crazy.
an unbelievable job here.
Yeah, it
They
looks
did a killer
fantastic.
job on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
all of
this
them.
looks
The
so
whole
good.
team was full bore
I was
on
like-
it, so.
It's a blood curse, and they really took that personally.
They said, "Oh, you want to see what corruption looks like?"
I know.
Well, talk to us a little bit about blood magic versus just normal corruption.
So yeah, blood magic is a sort of illegal kind of magic, and using it in any amounts creates a certain amount of corruption in the caster, and that corruption can bleed over into the environments and things that they draw essence from in order to cast those spells. This was a blood magic that obviously consumed a whole heck of a lot of it.
She wasn't intending for this kind of after effect.
No. Yeah, the mage who casted this did not was not able to understand the scope of the destruction that would cause. But also in the final, the final days of, ancient Vera during the Harbinger Apocalypse, like
You didn't have a lot of time to research.
there was not a whole lot of deliberation. There wasn't a whole lot of like magical research and safety precautions that they could take. So yeah, it did its job, but
Yeah, it seemed to, like even if it delayed a lot of the progress they made towards the portal, it seemed like they really created a lot of destruction along the way.
Carfin itself has a lot of history built into the environment here too. You'll see lots of statues and stuff around that go into it.
It's one of the five main city-states, 5 primary city-states of the Aelan people. Then they would form into the Aelan Empire following the Great War of the Undying with King Atrax.
Right now, so many people are just like, oh my god, we're finally getting lore.
We could go all day on it if you want.
We could, yeah.
Well, we don't want to give it all away.
Well, the story is kind of told over the course of 4 phases, 4 chapters. Each chapter will update spawns, change the quest givers, change what quests are available, and that's across the server. It's not like your individual progress.
Okay.
Phases, that is. The actual quests themselves, you can progress kind of at your own pace, but as long as it's within the window of that quest's phase being active.
I mean, who honestly has this much blood to spare? This is crazy. This is...
We're actually trying to figure out the science of, like, if you took an entire city's worth of people, how many cups of blood would you have?
Oh no.
Probably not very many.
Yeah. Less than you think, but it wouldn't be as dramatic if we were super realistic with it.
Oh, it's magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
Blood is persistent and eternal.
Yeah.
Unless we can do something about this curse.
I don't know, Steven, if you stopped and talked to Orn and pick up that quest or not. But,
Oh no, I did not.
Oh, that's okay. I think you still have.
How can I?
All the quests that were in there before.
Yeah, let me grab it. How do I open my journal again? What is that?
It's L.
L. That's right.
Yeah, L to open your journal.
Oh
So
yeah,
if you look
yeah,
in
I
there-
got it. There we go.
Yeah, you can see there's other story arcs going on as well. The phase timers in there indicate how much real world time is available to like do the quests in that phase.
I see.
And
Interesting.
what quests you do, or the quests that you do, like it's not just a matter of completing the laundry list of things that the NPC has you do, but you pick from a whole bunch of objectives, many of them optional, some of them, if not most of them, hidden when you first undertake the quest. So go dig up a guide or blaze your own trail or whatever. But depending on which objectives you complete, those are the things that help the server aggregate what is going to happen in later phases of the story arc, and that's like across all of the players participating during that time frame. What objectives they decide to complete.
Nice.
That's what
Okay.
drives what happens in later.
Awesome.
What quests are available, what NPCs are pulling ahead of other NPCs in terms of their progress toward their goals.
Oh.
And how you complete your quest matters.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, with some objectives, being exclusive of one another, so helping one NPC will lock you out of helping a different NPC. So yeah, we whoa.
Oh no. Wow. I'm just taking in the sheer beauty, but also like a kind of gross beauty of this environment. It is so
Yeah, that's
eerie.
look good. That's for damn sure.
I think even the corrupted trees, you can harvest them. You find some of them that you can harvest. You can chop them down.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're a little bit hard to spot though.
Well, also the I believe that as part of these environments changing, you're also activating rare resource spawners that might only occur during certain events.
Yeah, that's correct.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
like corrupted soul bloom, and there was one that Corey had just put in, all those things are only available during certain story arcs, and every story arc has its kind of special things that you want to try and take advantage of, and
And that one
if they're in
goes
your backyard,
for-
swing by and pick them up.
Yeah, for herbalism, for making certain potions. Sometimes you want to take advantage of the limited time you have during the story arcs to get some of these rare resources for crafting things. Certain poisons and potions from these limited corrupted spirit blooms, right?
Yep.
Sorry, I just disabled my my HUD right now. I want to, like, this area is just too crazy.
It is pretty good.
Huge tower.
It looks so good. Jeremy and Hal and Adam, I think, and who's all working on this? Jeremy.
Zach and Brandon and everybody.
Another Scott.
Yeah.
Not me.
Tristan's entire team.
Yeah, this is
worked on this.
absolutely beautiful. And talk to me a little bit about the dungeon.
So the dungeon we're heading to right here, that's the Tower of Carfin. That is the Mage University that, following the War of the Undying, the elves said, oh, these humans, there's something to them. Let's gift them the gift of magic, and let's show them the advanced stuff.
You can
Let's
see some of
build
that
them
story reflected here on these murals.
Build them a
Ooh.
university,
Hold on, I grabbed some stuff.
and we can teach them the way we want to
HUD.
teach them. And the human said, yeah, show us. I think we ran by the deans, the first deans of the statues back here.
Oh yeah, we should go look at those.
I really love how some of the ornate detail in the buildings have so much symbolism attached to them. It really makes it feel like there's a kind of steep lore
Like if we go
behind
back
all
this
the
way to
environment.
Which way over here?
go back this way to the statues we ran past.
Oh
Yeah. All the former headmasters,
Oh yeah, these are the
headmistresses
former
of the
deans,
university.
right?
Yeah.
So this one up front here, that's Tanfilaris Wren. He's the elf that came over from the elves and from the Pyrian elves at the time. And you can see he kind of built the tower for them. Started training the first students. And then one of the other towers is his best student, Aristod. We can point out his statue in a bit here. So he was the first human dean. And he's this one here. You can see him kind of with the book open. That was Aristod. So
Wow.
he's the first human one after Tanfilaris went back to the elves after a few decades. We've got Dean over here is the woman that's Jenica. And the interesting thing about her is that she never died. She was into teleportation, and that was her big area of expertise, and she just never came back. Hint, hint, hook.
No. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Then we have one of Lamont's Oren over here. That's Darren Lamont. He was a dean of the college.
He looks like
Yeah.
the wise guy.
Mm-hmm.
Orin's family is quite they're quite central to the story here. There'll be lots of opportunities to learn lots of them in this story arc, actually.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and the final one there's Klon Xander. He was all into alchemy, so that was his area of expertise that he really.
Oh yeah.
So if you see a lot of maybe some potions in the game with a Klon or Xander's so and so, that's the guy.
What do we have here?
Just a very normal looking door, probably nothing terrible
Oh
in there.
no, I mean this mural.
Look at
Oh, the humans asking the Pyre for help with magic.
The
period.
periods. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Pyrian.
we
Very
got
cool.
him teaching.
The
There's
Pyrian teaching the Kalar, or the alien at that point.
Yeah, the aliens.
And over here. Oh,
The-
the 5 moons.
The tower's construction and the 5
The-
moons.
Phases of the moon. 3 moons.
the 3 phases, or 5 phases.
Yeah.
Perfect. Very cool. And then we also have their the symbology for the
If you
Hyrians
notice
and the
on the
aliens.
doors, you have a lion head on one side representing humans and the griffin head on the other representing the elves.
Who are the guys pulling the doors open?
Interesting.
Just a couple of guards.
Yeah.
What is this sandal? Oh. Oh my god. I'm sorry, that made me cough a storm. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. I love it. All right, so what is our objective here? What are we looking for inside right now? Now, this is just the entrance, the foyer of the tower of the university.
Yeah.
So
Which is
we're not
its
going to
own
obviously
multi-level
take you
dungeon.
through everything. A lot of it's still a work in progress. Always remember that this is a work in progress right now. This is part of the Alpha 2 experience. You'll be able to explore, delve into this dungeon. So, what are we going to see in here?
Even more corruption and blood.
More blood, for sure.
Okay.
I like the bell.
Oh,
The gong is
good.
cool. I guess it is a bell. Bowling.
Oh my god. Wow. This looks great. I love this interior. The lighting is so moody. Oh my god, this is like the supreme edgelord environment.
Take a look around at this. There's a treasure chest over there to get our loot
Kind of
from.
my style. So.
But after we look around before we get the treasure.
Even the gothic-esque lamp with the nasty, like, flesh environment. Oh god. Ah! We have some loot. Is this like a treasure chest?
That's a treasure chest.
Whoa!
Or not.
Oh, no, no, no. Not like that. Nuke it from orbit. Nuke it from orbit. Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Where'd it go?
Where did it go?
Behind us now.
Oh, come here.
Thing's fast.
Oh my god, this thing is crazy. Look at it. These are just the entrance mobs?
It's just the entrance, yeah.
Oh no. Oh, no. This guy is nasty. Now these tend to do some nasty things when they die, right? I mean, this is basically like a, what is this, a hoarder?
It's a
AKA
hoarder.
mimic? No, I'm just kidding. This looks...
Baron Hoarder.
Get away from it! Get away! Run! Get back! Get back!
Is that a defense mechanic? Okay.
Ah!
Get away!
No! You're pulling it into the party! Oh, that is nasty. This is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they did an incredible job on this. It just looks so good.
Well, is there anything
It'd be
else
great to explore that dungeon.
that you guys want to touch on from the story arc perspective? What kind of come out here?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I guess there's one thing people might be
Characterization.
curious about. I mentioned how you could do what you needed to do, as long as the phase, you can do any quests available in that phase while that phase is available. So what happens if you miss something? You go on vacation or whatever, and you can't log in during the week to participate in the quests that are going on in the phase for that story arc. For most story arcs, they do repeat after they complete. They'll go on a cooldown and they will repeat again. You'll have another opportunity to get involved with them the next time they come through. For our big major, world-spanning story arcs that will sort of tell your server's your server's own story, those ones don't repeat. Those are sort of one and done. But you can replay them. There's a different system for replaying previous phases for the big main story arcs. However, decisions and objectives you make in those won't count toward your server's what's canonized for your server, which is our way of saying, what decisions they make for the objectives and stuff that get completed.
And all this goes to really kind of creating that experience of player agency being excuse me, being seen through world building and actually changing the locations, the environment, the story, and how it influences future arcs down that path for the world to kind of reflect it. It creates such a unique, I feel, environment between different servers and the histories that they create.
Exactly. I think Jeremy said it really well earlier when we were trying to help figure out the right words to describe these
Yeah.
very complicated systems. When he said,
Yeah, there's
"Go ahead, Jeremy."
definitely there's a different in MMO. You have different philosophies on kind of storytelling. We're going to more old school, like the world has a story, and you're playing within the world story. And in our case, you're helping to guide that by the decisions that you make while doing your quests and the different players. If one goes one, if a bunch go one way and a few go the other way, that kind of canonizes down that way. More recent MMOs have just focused the story on the player and used instance and phasing to tell individual stories at different times and at different durations. We're more old school, saying the world is evolving. You participate in how the world story is going. More the how UO and EverQuest and
Absolutely.
those games
Lineage.
did it.
Dayak.
Lineage.
Yeah.
Everybody is playing it in the same world, and the state of that
Correct.
world is something that everybody's building together.
All great games. Absolutely.
I feel
Well,
like one of the
oh, go ahead, Amy. Sorry, go no.
one of the I was going to say that one of the major goals I feel like we have is to allow player decisions to have consequences and to have meaningful results from the decisions that they make. And so it seems like people can really create their own stories.
Absolutely. Phenomenal work, guys. Well, I want to thank you three for joining me to help kind of give players a little peek under the hood for the Tower of Carfin as I train your party. I apologize. And I cannot tell you how beautiful and unbelievable this area is. I mean, the artists are phenomenal. So
They did a killer job on this.
Thanks.
So fun to go with it.
with that being said, we're going to go run back to the stream. Super exciting stuff, and we will be back with you in just a moment. Thank you, guys.
Woohoo! Love seeing the reactions in chat whenever stuff started changing on the screen. I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
Looks good.
We hope that you are as excited as we are for like the
Yes.
dynamic questing system and content
Yeah.
and how it interacts with the nodes.
Yeah, and this particular dungeon is a big one. It is a massive one. It is the largest in the Riverlands, and it is a major quest hub for Alpha 2. So this is you guys will probably be spending a lot of time in this dungeon.
Okay.
One of the key takeaways from the system side of this, with regards to story arcs. Story arcs were something very early on that we decided was necessary to facilitate how players interacted and changed the world.
Let's go
We have
studio
this
update.
content-
That's pretty good.
To our studio update. Don't worry, I
That
didn't
looks
forget this
pretty
time,
good,
guys. So I'll pass it on to you, Stephen, if you want to talk a little bit about maybe what was accomplished in M4, what we're moving towards in M5, and maybe any other studio
good.
information you think we should share with our folks.
Yeah. For us, excuse me. I'm sorry.
You're okay. He's a little
I'm
sick,
dying.
guys.
I apologize, guys. I didn't, I haven't missed a stream ever since we started doing them, and even though I'm literally dying right now, I needed to be here for the stream.
That's funny. Well, not funny, but
yeah, M4 for us was a big milestone. We hit some core objectives both around design and engineering, our 5.11 update, which was, a little bit larger than we had anticipated, but we took those punches. You know, the art teams, the tech art teams, have been doing a lot of optimization passes, and has found a lot of gains on that front. We were dealing with a little bit of a DX issue, which we got some clarity on. Also, we've been fine-tuning a little bit of our architecture a bit more around some of the gameplay systems and where things can share. There's a lot of work done there. A lot of the definitions, further definitions around expanded scope of our building types and architectures within the node. Some of the tools have been getting revamped. There's been a lot of content progress that's made from the narrative teams. Win with the lore side has been doing a lot of work. And then, of course, on the asset creation side, our character teams, our animation teams, the combat teams have been doing a lot of work in getting some of the expanded archetype development progressed. You guys are going to be seeing the mage next month, and hopefully the Cyclops the month thereafter. Talking a little bit about raids and whatnot. So a lot of stuff, a lot of progress. We, just to give you guys an idea, as we continue in production, sometimes we try different things from a production process perspective. We introduced some.
There's nothing
and
there.
real quick, just for those of you who were watching the stream, and understandably, the quality of this video via the stream is not going to be as high as our 4K video, which we'll be uploading later today.
There's a 4K of
so you
this.
guys can see it
Okay.
in all
That's
its
cool.
awe and
Pretty cool.
glory.
Just watch the short one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream in the world of Vera. I am joined today by three of our absolutely awesome developers. We have with us two regulars and one new face. One of our engineers, obviously our glorious engineers, Keenan. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks for asking.
Welcome, sir. Welcome back. It was just, let's see, last time you were on was for the tank, I believe the tank showcase, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and then we also have, I think, as well from that showcase, one of our senior designers, Mr. Trad. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone again.
And then we have a new face with us, one of our senior visual effects artists, Mr. John. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, man. This is fun.
Yeah, this is fun. This is your first time on, right?
Yes, it is.
And you have been doing a lot of work on the visual effects side, and today I know many in our audience have been anticipating this early work in progress look at the Alpha 2 Mage, and we have, I'm sure already, the chat is ecstatic looking at the hotbars of abilities that we're going to be looking at today. We're not going to go through all of them, but we are going to go through I believe the electrical spells, some of the utilities, and some of the frost abilities, right, Trat?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to be looking at a bit of an ice lightning mage. This will not be the only elements that you'll see on the mage, but that's what we're going to be focused on today. And just specifically some interactions between those elements and showing off how the elements can be used together to create synergies.
Yes, and I know we've been talking about this obviously for a good amount of time, and the way that kind of the class kits synergize and work together, and you guys saw a little bit of that with the tank demonstration between, I believe, two abilities had like a staggered to a knockdown promotion. Is that right, Trent?
That's correct. Yeah, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into that kind of stuff. You'll see probably 3 or 4 different interactions within this kit, and that's just the start of it.
Cool. Now, we are in the Riverlands, of course, but we are, where are we right now? I think we're at the, this is like a, what is this place called? Is this this is the Hall of Judication, which is, was an Aelin, I guess, prison / trial location that they kept criminals for court. And we're not going to go inside this location because I think it's filled with some goblins that might be a little bit beyond our pay grade. But outside, I think there are some more friendly flowers, perhaps, that we can also play with, and then maybe some rock monsters. But what I want to do before we start there is I think it would be beneficial.
Watch them 1440. Sorry.
For us to first get a kind of a base on what each of these abilities do. I know that was something that a lot of the players really liked seeing before we actually get into some combat interactions. And then later, I'm going to let Trad show off some of the intricate combos when we kind of showcase the broader kit. But one thing I want to tell the audience is that, in our previous showcases, we've tended to kind of showcase a little bit more gameplay-oriented kind of walkthroughs of zones and areas and have elements of different encounter designs and monsters and whatnot. Today, we're going to really focus in on these individual abilities, their mechanics, and what it means for the broader, combat design of our archetypes in Ashes of Creation, and hopefully get some good feedback from the community on this direction. And I know Keenan has some questions that he wants to talk about, and John, I know we're going to talk with him a little bit about kind of the next edge kind of technology that we're utilizing for some of our VFX and how these abilities interact. So before we get started, let's go through these abilities one at a time. What's our first one that we have here? This is something that I think we had in Alpha 1. This was our Blink. Is that right, Trad?
Yep, this is one of the ones that we've brought back. This was definitely, I would say, most of our favorite spells from Alpha 1, so we had to bring it back. Even the visuals were just awesome. So, yeah, anyone who played Alpha 1 should be pretty familiar with that.
I'm going to set my cooldowns to 0 so I can show the abilities over and over again. So this is the Blink ability, and obviously its purpose is to close the gap, to create a gap, to reposition. Talk to me a little bit about the use case of a Blink from the Mage's kit perspective.
Interesting.
I mean, you covered it there. It's a gap opener, gap closer, whatever you want it to be, and we'll showcase some kind of that. We'll showcase that kind of gameplay and actual action once we get to the encounter section of this this stream. But you'll see that mages will probably prefer to use this spell in different ways based on how you're speccing the mage. So if you are a more ranged-based classic mage, you'll most likely use this to create space to put between you and your opponent. But like a more melee-based mage might actually want to use this to get on their opponent.
Yes, to initiate. Absolutely.
Oh, melee-based mage, huh? Okay.
And then after this, we have a, let me see, before we get into the combat abilities, perhaps we use, actually, let me show the shield. Speaking of a combat mage, if you're in the middle of fighting, talk to me a little bit about the shell.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic mage spell that you've probably seen before. It's just a big health shield. It absorbs a bunch of damage, and it has a duration, so usually you want to time it with when you're going to anticipate taking a bunch of damage at once, and we'll show that off too in a little bit with some of our rotations that put the mage in a little bit more danger for greater payoff.
And this is kind of a short duration shell. Now, obviously, duration excuse me, can be one of the parameters that are augmented by some of our augment abilities, so it could be potentially extended by an augment in the future, but it's essentially short duration for those temporary hit points. Is that right? Kind of like if you're stuck in a little bit of a bind.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the point of the duration. Like usually these health shields can be pretty strong, and so timing that is part of the balance and also part of the gameplay skill that comes into deciding when to use that and when to put it on cooldown.
And then let's show off this ball of lightning. Now, John, you have done a lot of work on the tech side for VFX with regards to how lightning kind of interacts with surfaces from a sticky surface perspective, and just establishing what I think is a really cool even style guide and shape language for this electricity. And talk to us a little bit about what it took to create this.
I think one of the things that helps set Ashes apart from an effects perspective is that we want our effects to be dynamically generated. We want them to interact with the world. We want them to feel like they are part of the combat. So when we come to wanting to work with something like lightning, we actually want it to seek out different, things in the world and stick to them. We want it to feel like you are actually in control of that lightning, not just plastered on top. So what we've been working on are kind of behavior systems where you model the behavior of the lightning and how it should work. And then, those systems get put into our effects and you get a very consistent, repetitive, not repetitive in like its motion, but how it behaves, result from it.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, it looks good.
I love this ability too, and when we get into combat, you guys will see kind of its use case.
I will say this is one of my favorite spells, just to use not only visually, but like for reasons you'll see later. But like it's a zoning tool. It's like a mobile zoning tool. It's great for applying status effects because it's hitting very rapidly.
I was like
There's
status
lots of
effects.
different ways
Okay.
you can use this thing to your advantage.
I'm sorry.
This one was so much fun to make.
People aren't supposed to be using. I have cooldowns. I'm sorry. I set my cooldowns to 0, so I'm launching like a whole bunch of them. But I just really love the effects.
Yeah, it's good.
I
It's
think it's so
good.
cool.
They did good
It was
on
just
it.
fun to figure out how to get it to stick to the floor and make it actually kind of walk along,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now we also have a little bit on the frost side. Let's talk about this ability, and this one is a blizzard.
Oh, not okay.
Explain
Okay.
a little bit about blizzard, Keenan.
Blizzard is a very complicated spell. I have thought a lot about Blizzard. It rains projectiles down that deal damage, but also does a fairly frequent burst that applies chilled stacks. It also has a little bit of mobility into it, which is something we talked about quite a bit. We felt that it was important to maintain some control over this ability, even though it's very powerful, just to give players that maximal sense of agency as they are destroying the
You'll be able to
battlefield.
move.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love the visuals here as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
John. The decals on the ground with the frost and the impacting ice shards. Now, is this talk to me a little bit about kind of how you create from a visual effects perspective these individual elements and their reusability.
One of the things that's really good about working here is that we are involved very early on, and we can look at the things that are going to be challenging from what design and the engineering team want to build from an effects perspective, and then inform them on those things. And when we want really cool frost zones all over very uneven terrain that they build out like cool displacements in the ground, there's not a button for that. We have to go and work really closely with tech art and figure that stuff out. And then how do you make sure that the particle systems can drive those decals and they can be animated? So being part of that process very early on, working with the concept team to identify what the challenges are going to be, and then really being able to communicate with those teams about how to accomplish it before it hits our desk is really powerful.
Absolutely.
I remember when when you showed me your first iteration, John, and I was like, how does it look when you
If
move?
you
And you
out,
were like,
guys, let me know.
"What?"
I have no idea.
Yep, that is definitely one of the things that you are so very good at, Keenan. You take like whatever system we have designed and you find the one thing almost immediately that we didn't account for, and I appreciate you for that, because once we fix it, it looks so good.
Absolutely. It is a very difficult process, kind of, creating these abilities in a way that, obviously answers the call from a design perspective in the kits that we want to create and the interconnectivity between those kits, but also establish what players want to see out of a class fantasy. And the mage is a very near and dear to many people's hearts.
It is. A lot of people like mages. Yeah.
And there's just so much space here to create strong visual languages around the different types of magics and elements that are utilized. It's a very strong part of the Ashes of Creation class kits. So we have another ability called Cone of Cold. Talk to me a little bit, Trad, about Cone of Cold.
Yep, ice spells have a tendency to be complicated. This is another one. So this is a cone spell. I mean, it's pretty simple in that regard. Like you hit enemies in front of you. You apply what is one of our elemental status effects called Chilled. Does as you would probably expect. It slows the target, and it can stack for an increasing amount of slow per stack you put on them. But if you might notice that there are some little crystals that it leaves on the ground there, and each one of those is a proximity ice mine that if someone steps on, it will explode and apply additional stacks and damage. So it's really good at creating area denial between your opponent and yourself, and if you force them through it, then you can count on being able to escalate your stats effects a little quicker.
Now,
throw it off.
I've aggroed this monster. You guys will notice that it's not pathing towards me, but that's because I want to show off some additional abilities. Excuse me. That require a target. So, Lightning Strike. Talk to me about what Lightning Strike does.
Sure. This one's a little more straightforward. It's kind of one of your bread and butter single target abilities. You can charge it for varying degrees of efficacy. So you can either release it really soon to apply stacks quickly of the electrified status effect in the lightning category, or you can charge it up longer and do more damage. So I guess I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about what you might be noticing on the icons on these enemies. But once you build 10 stacks of electrified on the target, you'll notice that they'll get another icon on them, and that is the shocked status effect. And what that means is that when you hit them with damage, once that thing is applied, it will consume electrified stacks with each hit you do to them while that's active to do or proc additional damage.
Okay,
So I'll
that's
show
pretty
that
damn
here.
good.
You can see that electrified gets applied. But one thing also that is interesting is this elemental empowerment. Talk to me a little bit about elemental empowerment.
Yep, so you might be wondering, well, how am I going to get all the way to the number of status effects I need if my abilities are on cooldown and, I need 10 of them to get there? Well, the wand combo your weapon combo in general on the mage is very good at doing so, because it will take the elements of the last spell you cast and for about a 5-second period or so apply that element in status effect applications to the enemy as you're attacking them. So you might see that happening here.
So let's show off a little bit of that interaction after I kill this guy real quick in the next one, and how promotions work on those types of status conditions. So what's a good promotion effect that I can do between electricity and frost right now?
Usually I like to stick with frost first. So I'll open with, do we want to show frostbolt?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can show
let's
frostbolt.
do that. So this is a single target projectile attack that applies 2 stacks of chill to the enemy. And then after that, hit him with a few wand attacks. Now you'll see that you've gotten a frozen status effect on him. And then he timed that really well right there. But like in that very last frame, you'll see that he hit him with a lightning effect, which triggers the Shadis. It's not even a condition, it's just a reaction. And that just triggers a bunch of damage. So that's a good way to get your burst damage if you're rotating your spells and your elements the correct way.
Yeah, that's super cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that particular interaction is by far my favorite thing about this mage.
Yeah, I
Pretty
like
damn
the ability for a spellcaster or just any player with their archetype, having the option to kind of weave in between those rotations and those spells, and to create successful combinations within their kit that you amplify the DPS or the status conditions or the control effects or whatever it is your end goal. Having a rotation that emphasizes your ability to succeed or fail in those combos, I think is compelling from a gameplay perspective.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like, they really are intended to be rotational drivers and help you get introduced to a kit that, might otherwise feel like just a disparate set of spells that don't really belong together. This is just one way that we're really making them feel connected, and it's not the only way. You'll see some other synergies that are a little bit more organic with a few of these other spells that we have yet to get to, but that's kind of the crux of how we're getting those rotational elements down.
Now
I
talk
think
to
your ball
me.
lightning just shattered that for you.
I know. I timed it so that it would essentially hit the target while the frost application applied. I used another ability called Chain Lightning. Talk to me about Chain Lightning.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to Lightning Strike, except it's more of an AoE role that it's filling. So you won't see it here because you're only attacking one target, but if there were multiple targets, you would see lightning branch off from the main target that you have to nearby additional targets. So it's really good at applying its status effect in a more AoE scenario, which we will also show you soon.
There we go.
Let me see if I can... sorry, I spawned a few more targets just to demonstrate that. Let me sleep them all. Talk to me a little bit about sleep.
Yeah, so this is an AoE CC that breaks on damage. It's great for like creating space and setting up a window, but you can't just like DPS them down while they're sitting there weak. So it's kind of it's a trade-off. It's very good, especially if you're in a more organized group that knows to hold off and like kind of control the battlefield without just throwing damage everywhere.
Mages are gonna be good.
Yeah, that is super cool. But now, John, talk to me a little bit about the ability for this lightning to kind of connect with these different points of collision.
So, first, working with this combat team so early makes things like the idea that they want to be super twitchy and rotate the player while they're casting it very obvious from the start as a huge challenge. So when we go about designing these systems, we're looking for not only does it look good, but is it performant, and building out the systems that can look for all of the players, the ground, collision objects like trees or rocks, and not only like collide them but avoid them is just super satisfying.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's one of the cool things. You were talking about like looking for that collision, and one thing I want to demonstrate on that comment is, let me see if I can find a good spot to showcase that here. Hold on one second. Let me just spawn a little dude maybe right here-ish. And then, oh, actually, no, wait. We got a friend. Let's use him. Shit asleep. Right there. Okay, and then let me get behind this rock. Whoops, sorry, guys. I'll launch around this area here. Oh, that looked so good. Did you guys see that arc? That was so cool.
All hacks.
And you can rotate while you're casting. So we wanted to really pay attention to that player agency that's been so important for the combat team. If you're able to move and rotate and get out of the way, and your effects suddenly disconnect from you or don't feel like you're in control of them anymore, it doesn't look right. And we really want it to look and feel interactive and fun. We don't want you to turn the effects off. We want you to enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm definitely not used to seeing such like grounded lightning in games and MMOs especially. No
I am a mage player, and bad lightning angers me. So it was just not allowed. Like, we had to do better, and it's still very much a work in progress, but we are definitely on the right path, and it's performant. And I think another aspect of this that's really cool is you're looking at it as lightning right now, but the same system that does lightning does the ice crystals, does the airstrike roots. There's all kinds of different behaviors that these very performant systems can handle.
Absolutely. All right, next up we have Arcane Volley. What is Arcane Volley?
This is a single target arcane spell. Unlike the other ones we've shown you, this doesn't have any particular element associated with it. and it might look a little underwhelming at first, but you can use this pretty quickly. It's on a 2-charge cooldown, and there is a particular synergy that we all like to use with it. If you haven't figured it out, it's how it synergizes with the shocked status effect.
Okay.
The shocked status basically says with each hit, it triggers additional damage, and Arcane Volley is a perfect candidate for that synergy.
You know, let me just make sure this guy's wings are good to go. Trad, I would love for you and I to perhaps swap places here, and for you to walk us through some of these more elaborate combinations. One thing that is really cool, guys, I don't know, it was about a year ago or so, we showed off this particular Thunderbolt gliding mount, and we put a little bit more work. Jason's been putting a little bit more work into the glide mechanic, and let's see if I can set myself up. I want to fly you over to a little location, Trad, where you can demonstrate some of these combos. So I think there's a plateau that's kind of near here. Let's see if we can do this. Oh god, and we're doing it. Okay, so this is kind of the gliding distance that you can develop a little bit with these gliding mounts. So there's some good amount of distance traveled, I think. Oh my god, I pulled a little bit too many troops. Hold on.
You're getting more.
Yeah. Wait. Let me fly back out.
Reset.
Let me reset. All right, wait.
Pretty decent.
We're good. Let's just walk over. Actually, no. I'm gonna fly to a little safer spot in the corner here. There we go. Oh, and he's T-posing. Don't mind him. He's good. Just tell him to go away. Up, and we got another one. And he died. Okay, we're good. Alright. Brad, let me just, hold on. My god, I hope I don't die. Alright, get ready. We're gonna swap over here. Why are there so many creeps on this hill? Oh no. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Give me 1 second. Let me just see if I can reset them. Okay, there we go. We're good. We're good. Just, they reset? They reset. Nope, they're trying to path to me. They're very angry. Very angry.
Man.
Why won't they leash?
They have a super long leash radius.
Okay. Trad, let's you and I swap. What do you think? You want to swap? And we'll do this over here.
Yeah, good luck, Trad.
Hopefully they will
for
reset.
success here.
Yes.
All
Just
right.
a big AoE pull.
All right, we're gonna swap. Give me 1 second.
Interesting.
And we are now swapped, or we're swapping. Sorry, Trad, come on over. And show us some of the magic in the combos.
Let's see these
All right, we're
combos.
back. I'm gonna do my best to salvage this situation here. Got a big pull. Alright, so first I'm going to thin out this encounter a little bit. I'm going to demonstrate one of the more single
I just want you to know, Trad, real quick, that prior to you thinning out the herd there, that if it wasn't for my training all of those creeps, you would not have had this a spectacular opportunity to just showcase the sheer AoE potential in this kit.
Oh, I see. We're skipping straight to that then. Alright.
And he can do it without the cooldowns too.
No pressure whatsoever. Alright, no, let's set our cooldowns back too.
Your cooldowns back
Yeah.
on, yeah.
He can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, doing it live. Let's see, first.
So walk us through kind of what you're going to use.
So because this is going to be more of an AoE combo, I would say one of the better rotations for this is almost one of the more battle mage-like rotations. So that this is going to be something you could almost expect from like maybe mage fighter or something like that. You know, I'm going to equip the Great Blade.
Okay.
So this is just to show that, you know, mages use non-conventional weapons in Ashes of Creation. We're going to show that off soon, especially with what we showed you earlier, the Elemental Empowerment. Well, this will actually apply to all things that you hit in your cleaving radius with the Greatsword. So here we go.
No, Trent. Oh God.
I canceled my blizzard. That
was a rip.
Oh, that's so good.
Too many mobs, dude.
Oh, we're good. We're
All
good.
right,
We're
maybe
good. My
they'll
bad.
maybe they'll reset.
Now you're reset. You're good. Okay, guys, I just had to set Trad
That's
up
funny.
to die like that. I apologize. I just wanted to just showcase that the mage is not a literal god, like in many games. That if you overpull and you bite off more than you can chew, you're still gonna die.
I love it. We can't ever get it the first try, right? That would be a boring MMO.
No, that would be very boring. There's a little bit of a, difficulty challenge here. Oh, you almost made it back. This is nice. Not bad. Kind of like a little puzzle to get back in here.
You did it pretty quick too. I get lost.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get a little bit of a better setup here. All right, I'm gonna shelf the AOE one and go to the single target one, and then we'll do the AOE one
sounds
again
good.
after that. All right, so this is a little easier one. Here we go.
You're gonna need your wand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some big deeps there. And that's because of the shattered.
Jesus, he just fucking melted that.
Oh, and you slept the next one. Nice. I love that ball.
That's instinct.
Oh, you're making quick work of these, Trad. Not bad.
Yep. So that's the single target rotation I like a lot, at least with this kit. Once you start introducing some of these other elements in here that we're not going to show you this time, but you'll get to see them eventually. It really opens like a whole realm of possibilities. Actually, we could even try it on this one. This guy's got a lot of health.
This guy takes a few rotations to bring down.
Yeah, I've been really practiced on this one. Let's see how it goes.
And now, Keenan, talk to us a little bit about kind of the process that goes into creating these, class kits for Alpha 2. Your strike team has been hard at work and kind of developing phase 1 and phase 2 of these. What exactly goes into those phases?
Well, it's pretty much a 3-phase process. Phase 1 is very open-ended. We pretty much try everything under the sun, and we put it together in every way we can imagine, and we try to figure out what we like and don't like and iterate fast. Like we usually do playables like twice a week when we're in that phase. What you guys are seeing here is actually abilities that are in the process of passing phase 2. So they are approaching levels where we are happy with how they play, happy with how they look, and some details may change over time, but generally speaking, this is what we're going for. And from here, it would mostly just be like polish and assets and just getting like external
It looks
feedback.
so
and stuff
good.
like that.
What would you even polish?
Very nice. Trad, I liked your use of slumber there. You're in a precarious spot. Oh, God. Oh my God, Trad, I am literally on the edge of my seat just watching this, hoping you don't turn into ash. Oh God. Trad! Ow. Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
Butt shell.
I wanted to make it look close, it's good for the audience.
Yeah. Yep. Me too. That's when I die, it's because it's,
Yeah, I mean, it's a dramatic effect.
Yeah, agreed, totally.
All right, should we set our health back up, or do we have to wait for regen here? Do it the
you
classic
can
way?
set it.
All
Nah,
right.
do
You
it.
can negative nuke yourself.
Dude, the aggro range on these things. I see why you aggro everything so often.
Do you see what I mean? This is what I'm having to deal with right now. That's well done. You see this, audience? Utilize elements of the terrain to obstruct the pathing from the monster while we have yet to stand up the right pathing to deal with that. Oh, it's so good. This guy's a little boy, though. He's not too bad. This is just more of like the single rotation kit.
Yep.
And you do not have to build your mage down this elemental path, right? That's one of the
Anything left?
Think about them during combat, or are they interested in
Okay.
something
That's
more
pretty
complicated
good.
or less complicated?
I have to say that the mage looks good. It's looking good. Good job. All right, let's do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream in the world of Vera. I am joined today by three glorious developers. Actually, we have quite a few of our developers are participating in today's live stream. I'm not going to go through everyone. You'll see their usernames, their game handles on the top left side in our Raid UI. But I have three amazing developers who are joining us today that have all taken part in helping to design the Cyclops and the combat that goes around it. I know you guys in the community have been very excited to kind of see today's demonstration. We're not going to get too elaborate in the designs of the Cyclops raid because we don't want to spoil it for you, but just as a disclaimer, this is one of the very first World Raid bosses that'll be available for players to participate in. So this is not super endgame, but it is going to give you some insight into how we're designing these encounters. And first up, we have one of our senior designers, Mr. Doug. How are you doing, Doug?
Good evening. I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to show this off. We've been working on it for a while, and so
yeah. I'm super excited for you guys to show it off too. I know you guys have been hard at work on this one and a lot of other creatures. And this is your first time joining us on the stream, isn't that right?
That is correct. I have not streamed before.
Super exciting. We have a stream virgin with us. Very cool. We also have with us one of our glorious senior technical designers, Mr. Jason. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, how's it going?
And you are the, this one's your baby, right? This Cyclops was kind of your design.
Yeah, been plucking away at him for a while.
I remember the first time we chatted about this guy. You had such a great kind of premise for his backstory and the design elements of it. I thought it was super cool. I love the detaching tree, which our viewers are going to see in a little bit. So I'm super excited that you have an opportunity to kind of talk with the community about this and get their take on some of these designs. And then we have one of our regularly occurring senior designers on the combat side, Mr. Trad. How you doing, Trad?
Doing great. Good to be back as always.
Yes, welcome. So we find ourselves here in the Riverlands, and it appears to be a winter time. It's beautiful. Actually, I really like it. So one of the first things I would love to chat with you guys about is kind of how you set up this particular raid boss, the Cyclops, in the Riverlands. Talk to me a little bit about his pathing. Like, where does he live in the world? What's his backstory? Just tell me things about him.
Yeah, I think you could take this one, Jason.
Oh, so yeah, like the Cyclops, his name is Tumok, and a long time ago, he, is from the land of Sujoma, and that's where like all the Cyclopses are from. He decided it would be a good idea to try to align himself with the ancients that invaded Vera, and he took some of his followers to follow in his footsteps, and that didn't work out so well for him. He's the last remaining Cyclops of his his people he took to try and join the ancients, and the rest of his people kind of exiled him for that, and they didn't want him back. So he's kind of all on his own, and has kind of paid for some of those mistakes of misaligning himself. And
okay, so he's got a little bit of a backstory, some pain in there, maybe some betrayal, and I guess he kind of turned against his fellow citizens of Vera. Where are you guys at, by the way? I know we have a couple parties that are hanging back at the camp. Oh, there you guys are. Why don't you come join me over here? I wanna talk a little about, kind of his pathing, and I noticed that there are also some like winter spiders over here or something. What is going on over here?
Yeah, so there are some giant spiders over here, and one thing that we'd like to demonstrate today is that, not every enemy in Vera is going to just behave like they're simple, aggro immediately and beeline for you. The giant spider might not necessarily want to engage these scary looking adventurers, so he's going to stand off and hope that you back away. And
Oh, that is so creepy. I love the anim for this. So he's kind of not necessarily aggroing, but he's just like, don't come any closer.
Like peacocking.
Back off. Get away from me.
Yeah, he is kind of peacocking. I'm set to invulnerable because I want us to be able to kind of walk with the Cyclops as we see him start to path here.
Wild animals just, not every single wild animal is going to immediately beeline for you. And so that's the kind of behavior we want to capture. Some more ambient behaviors you might not expect to see in an MMO. Maybe some creatures hunting each other, these kinds of, more believable behaviors from wild animals.
That's super cool. Ooh, yeah, I like them. That's awesome. It adds an element of immersion, I feel like. So
if you do stay within their range or get too close to them, then they might defend themselves. So
that's super cool. So talk to me a little bit about the Cyclops and its path and how you guys kind of determine, where this guy's going to roam and why it's an important aspect that the boss is kind of roaming through the woods, or through the world.
Yeah, so we work with the world team to decide what that path is going to be, and we want to make sure that there's something of interest. In Vera, no matter where you go,
no matter vulnerable, just in case. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, no matter where you look, no matter what path you go down, that there's always a chance you're going to see something you didn't expect or you didn't see before. So.
Oh, I love this guy. He's so massive, and I like how he kind of walks through the trees, triggering their destruction. Oh, that's so cool that he interacts with the environment like that.
Yeah, definitely going to help you to listen. You can just listen in the woods, and if he's patrolling around, you're going to hear him.
Oh my gosh, this guy's huge. Now, oh, sorry, my bad. I thought for a second there he was going to aggro me. But just so you guys are aware in the stream, I've set myself to invulnerable so that we can kind of just walk near him and see his massive nature. And Doug, Jason, talk to me a little bit about the inspiration for this guy as a character model. Like, what were you guys, working with the character teams to kind of... I notice he has this massive tree. Talk to me a little bit about that element.
Yeah, I think that was actually a little bit improvised in the design based on what the character came back with, Jason, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, when the character artists were making this, they had this cool idea of just having this giant tree weapon that a Cyclops would hold. And we took that idea and just kind of embraced it, make it a part of his character and the embellishments that he wears, and using that to kind of inform what type of encounter that he might be. So we ended up making the tree like a pretty core part of it, and it informs some of his combat abilities and phase transitions even in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a collaborative process. Sometimes it's design asking for something specific from art, and sometimes art is what informs the design, so.
Oh, he looks great. The character did a great job with this. Do you know who's the character artist that worked on this? Was it Keith? I think it might have been Keith.
That's either Keith or it could have been Jency or somebody.
Yeah. They did a great job either way. I mean, it looks looks phenomenal. I know we have a couple of parties that are going to assist us with this particular fight. Talk to me a little bit about this encounter as a raid boss. What is the expectation from the actual raid size that you guys are anticipating for the design?
I think that's gonna vary depending on the level of the raid, obviously, and then sort of how geared they are. But we're kind of aiming for somewhere between 16 and 32, probably depending again on level and equipment.
Very cool. So this guy's a really early kind of world boss, and we want to introduce players early to the idea of these raids. And by the way, as we're kind of chatting about this, those of you who are going to be helping us defeat this guy with our two parties, if you want to start heading over to the arena, we are waiting here for you. I will set myself off of the GM invulnerability here. Let me see. There we go. Hopefully I don't aggro him. It's important, as we were talking about, to kind of introduce players into what raiding really means in Ashes, and talk to me a little bit about kind of the general design approach that you take with creating these types of encounters. You know, there are obviously phases, there's different elements in those phases that kind of change dynamically the way you want players to interact. What are we going to see here a little bit?
Yeah, this is definitely like a more introductory raiding experience, so it's not going to be too complicated, but I think there are some really interesting mechanics regardless, and I think Jason can talk about those.
Yeah, so when I first started designing this guy, you know, we had Trad and the other guys on the archetype team looking at, you know, forming the classes that people have been seeing over the live stream, and you know, really before those kind of come to fruition, and knowing like, you know, what the full abilities are and everything, I started the design with, you know, the core trinity in mind. So the roles are very obvious. Tanks will tank, healers will heal, and DPS will try to take down the targets that they need to. And starting from there, I try to keep that in mind, not to overcomplicate it, so that they always have that like individual trinity idea amongst the different mechanics.
Yeah, so we got some classic staples in here. We've got, you know, ads that off tanks are going to have to peel off, and crowd control that's going to need to be applied to those ads. We've got priority targets that are going to pop up that need to be killed. We've got, you know, damage that's going to be unavoidable, so that, you know, even with an expert group that can dodge all of his avoidable attacks, you know, the healers are still going to have work to do to keep everyone alive.
Very cool. Very cool. Love it. You guys will notice, obviously, on the stream that there have been some updates to a little bit of the nameplates that Colby and the UI team have implemented, as well as some of the targeting plates as well. But who do we have as our tank today?
That would be me. Doug will be tanking.
Doug will be tanking. All right. Very cool. And then we also have, I'll be playing as a mage, but I will be trying to capture some good shots of the encounter to a degree. Trad, what are you playing?
I am a mage as well, just like you.
Oh, okay, very cool. And then how about you, Jason?
I'm playing the cleric.
Nice. Well, Doug, I don't want to stand in the way of your greatness, so please, by all means, sir, you may commence when ready.
All right, Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy, let's do this!
We got it.
Try not to let me die, Jason.
Yeah, no promises.
Oh, he's an angry Tumok. Oh my god, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah, if you don't block that, you get smushed.
Oh, I love his animation. So talk to me a little bit about some of these attacks. What do you got going on here, Jason and Doug?
So yeah, his first phase here, he has a lot of physical attacks, but he also employs a lot of attacks using his tree, like we see there with the roots hitting us. And right now, you can see he's pulling some fungus out of the tree and using that to heal himself. He has a tank spike attack where he smashes the tree into the tank that Doug was blocking earlier. And generally does a lot of like AoE splash damage that other melee will want to avoid and not stand together.
Yeah, he's not a particularly complex raid boss, but he's a great example of sort of what we want to do with large creatures in Ashes. Having them interact with the environment, having that camera shake, that, you know, those knockdowns that make it feel like he is here and he is crushing you.
So cool.
Oh, he looks... Oh my god, he keeps just charging there. I'm just barely missing him. Now, talk to me a little bit about kind of the raid boss designs. Like, you guys are working with multiple stages. I noticed that right now he's just kind of, you know, roaming around. He has different targets on his hate list. Tell me, like, what's your general philosophy? How did you guys approach this?
Yeah, so I think Jason did this a little bit earlier, but we designed this boss pretty early on when a lot of the classes were still in their sort of nascent form. So we really just wanted to focus on the Trinity, you know, making sure that everyone has a purpose in this raid, a role, whether you're someone who's focused on CC, whether you're a tank, a healer, a DPS, you know, giving those classic mechanics to give everybody a job in the raid. Like right now, for instance, he's put this tree down, and there are going to be these healing caps that appear. And those are going to be a priority objective for DPS to take down before they grow to full size, because if they do, he's going to go over, he's going to stomp them, and he's going to get healed for a huge percentage of his health.
Wow. So we got to take this tree out because he's just going to keep healing.
Yeah, and you definitely got to switch over to those healing caps when they appear.
That's super cool. So he heals off of the mushrooms as well?
Yeah, and as a player, if you destroy them, or even if he stomps on them, if you happen to be nearby when they blow up, you can get that heal as well. So if you're taking some damage from the thorns from the tree, or you got hit by one of his large, stomp attacks, you might have a chance to get healed up if you run over to those mushrooms before they blow up.
Okay, we almost have this tree down. Come on, guys, focus it down. Focus major DPS on the tree. Let's try to kill this thing. It's almost done. Get it before he picks it up. Yes, everything. Release it all. Oh, well done. Uh-oh. Oh my God. Why is he so mad?
He does not like when you break his weapon.
What the heck?
I mean, who would?
Jason, where'd you get the idea for the kind of tree totem?
A lot of that came from the original design that we got from character art. In that, we really enjoyed the way that it synergized with his look. So we wanted to employ the use of the tree as like a core part of his encounter. And we ended up using it as like a magical tree where he gets a lot of his abilities, but without that, he seems to get really mad, and his more primal Cyclops giant nature comes back, as we see here.
Wow, that's cool. So talk to me about those kind of slams that he's doing. And also, I noticed, like, as he's running around, the trees are falling, the stone obelisks are kind of getting destroyed. Is there intent for these kind of environmental hazards to exist as well as part of the raid design?
Yeah, absolutely. For our large creatures, cyclopses, dragons, things like that, we want to make sure that the world feels dynamic and it's reacting to their big size. If a huge, 20-meter tall beast is walking through the woods and not knocking down a single tree, that just doesn't feel believable. So we want to make sure that, you're going to hear that, and that's going to be a way you can know in the distance there's something that you want to go and investigate.
That is super cool. I died, but I'm on my way back.
No, those slams hurt really bad.
Yeah, one of the aspects of the phases in this fight is actually that he has those healing abilities when he has his totem tree, his nature magic, but and he is more primal when he's in this phase. As a result, you can take him down a little quicker when he's enraged, but it's also going to be a lot more incoming damage for your healers to work through. So, depending on your raid composition, your equipment level, you might want to sustain longer in that earlier phase, even if it takes a while through all that healing, because if you push him too early, you might just wipe.
Oh, I love it, guys.
Here it goes again.
Oh, no. God! Oh.
I was getting crushed there. It was right under his fists.
Oh, this poor guy. Look at him. His little eye. Wow, that was very cool. Well done, guys. That was awesome. Does he have any loot? Can we loot him? I wonder. Sword of the Briarholm, a longbow, a short bow, and a mace. Ooh, very nice. Well, that was a lot of fun. Very well done. I thought that was very cool. Guys, as you guys are watching this, remember, obviously this is one of the earliest world bosses in Ashes of Creation that you'll have an opportunity to encounter, just getting your feet wet and what the raid boss system's going to look like. We have a lot of
Hello and welcome to our glorious Ashes of Creation June development. update. We hope everyone is well and safe and has been having a wonderful month. On our front, it's been crazy. We've got a lot going on, and you better buckle in, strap up, because it's going to be a long one today. I hope everyone brought their snacks. I was warning people in the chat. So you've been warned.
It is going to be a long one. I mean, what are we thinking here? Probably at least an hour and a half, if not maybe 2. Oh my god.
Yeah, depending on how many questions we answer after. So we'll see how it
Oh,
goes.
let's
But
find
a
out.
lot of good
Let's find
information,
out.
a lot of new information, and updated information from old information. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward today. But to cover what we're going to be covering, we're going to go quick reminders. I'm going to try to be really quick about that. Freehold update. We'll do some art updates, which includes some new Nikuin awesomeness. I know folks have been asking about more dwarf stuff, and a studio update and Q&A. So
Nice.
first and foremost, we have our spotlight for our YouTube comment, which comes from Zash Welsh Guy and wants to know, with fishing, will we be able...
The audio fidelity.
Quick reminders. I'm going to try to be really quick about that. Freehold update. We'll do some art updates, which includes some new Nikuin awesomeness. I know folks have been asking about more dwarf stuff, and a studio update and Q&A. So first and foremost, we have our spotlight for our YouTube comment, which comes from Zash Welsh Guy and wants to know, with fishing, will we be able to use the fish we catch
That's a good
with the
question.
animal husbandry profession? Maybe have a freehold pond or a fish tank in the player home.
Yeah, this is something that we have ideas around and designs around. We haven't done any implementation or development for it yet, but the idea is that for certain types of fish or certain very rare kind of trophy-esque fish, you would be able, instead of using the material, to go through a process that might put it into things that are more cosmetic focused, like a fish tank or a pond on the freehold or something in the house. We definitely have some ideas around there. I think it's a super cool thing to kind of see something you've taken from the world and now that you've domesticated or put into your customizable space. So great question. It's definitely on the top of our minds. It's something that we're going to be exploring post Alpha 2.
Awesome, awesome. And then we've got Stephen will be on the Ashen Forge over on twitch.tv/theoryforge on July 9th. I think that they're going to be putting up a thread over on our forums as well to gather some questions from the community after the live stream. So definitely check that out. Stephen will probably answer a lot of questions. They always have a good time and ask a lot of good things. And of course, we also have our dev discussion about role-playing up. We would love for you to tell us what systems and features make role-playing fun, what features help remove hurdles and barriers. So if you have thoughts on that, please feel free to pop on over to our forums and give us your thoughts. And of course, we also have our cosmetic swap over happening for the Songs of the Sea on July 12th, 2023. And I know that we had previously said that the packages will be changing coming up in the future, but Stephen was giving y'all a long warning. It's going to be a bit before that changeover happens, but we will give you guys ample notice with an FAQ on details of what that will entail. And with that, we will move on to Freehold goodness. So if you want to do any prefaces here, Stephen?
Yes, let me give you guys a bit of a preface. So we decided to take a little bit of a different approach with this presentation. The first half of this is going to be really focused in on detailing out some of the mechanics of the freehold system. A part of it is going to be reiterating what you guys have known for a while, but another part of it's going to be giving some updates around these designs and some changes that have occurred in anticipation of the rollout for freeholds during Alpha 2. So give us your feedback on whether or not you like the style of this approach for the presentation. The first, like I said, half of it is going to be us kind of going through slides and showing some of the tech trees of the buildings and some of the purposes of these different systems on the freehold. And then after that, we're going to have a little bit of gameplay in the world showcasing the freeholds. I believe Bucky has a freehold. We're going to be going through doing some farming on it, some live interactions with some of the livestock. We're also going to be showing off as an ancillary
Been streaming all morning.
overview some of the changes that we had talked about previously to the inventory system. We're going to show some of the storage off. We're going to show off a couple of new mounts and some of the mining areas. But it's something that really the focus is giving you guys expectations around how freeholds have changed coming towards Alpha 2. So hopefully you guys enjoy. This is going to be a long one. It's about an hour-long video.
Yeah, over an hour long.
Yes.
So enjoy, and we'll see you afterwards.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another, I was about to say day in Vera, but actually we are going to be doing something a little bit different than what you are accustomed to. And the reason for this is because we are getting a little bit into the systems and the mechanics of how freeholds work. And it's going to be a two-part presentation. The first of which you're seeing now is going to be in the format of a more PowerPoint-oriented kind of presentation, talking about the mechanics, looking at skill trees. And then the second part is going to be in-game, where we're going to take a look at some of the systems like farming, livestock, housing, and storage. But I am joined today by three absolutely glorious developers on the Ashes of Creation dev team. Our designers, first of which is a regular appearing guest, Mr. Bucky. How you doing, Bucky?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Bucky, aka Dr. Bucky. I'm a game designer here at Intrepid, helping out some of the arts and ship designs, and also some of the systems related to nodes and freeholds, and also a little bit of combat design.
Yes, and we also have with us joining, I believe for the first time, one of our glorious designers, Mike.
Hello, my name is Mike. I'm a senior systems designer here at Intrepid. It's really nice to be here. Yeah, yes. I deal with economy and itemization, and this is the first time on live stream. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Yes, we're excited to have you as well. And we have Corey also. Corey, I believe you were on our December live stream that we did.
Yeah, I was there for the gathering, and yeah, I'm Corey. I'm a technical designer, and I focus mostly on artisanship and economy.
Okay.
Other things, but those are my main things.
Yes. Now we have an exciting topic today, which is, I think, near and dear to a lot of players' hearts, and that is freeholds. And what are we looking at here? Tell me a little bit of what this concept art is. We've obviously talked a lot about freeholds in the past as a system since back in 2017 when we first were discussing Ashes of Creation with the community during Kickstarter and what the intent of freeholds are. But what are we looking at? And tell me a little bit about the system overall.
So yeah, we got a little example set of a freehold here, right? We got on the left, we have some farmable animals, some livestock here in pens, and then we have in the middle there's a bunch of crop rows of farmable crops the players can have, and then there's a couple different examples of different kind of freehold buildings you can have on your freehold. One of which is the house on the right, and then some other freehold buildings as well. Like it looks like there's a mill in the back there as well.
Yeah, and for those of you who have just been kind of tuning into Ashes of Creation's development or don't follow along in game development or other projects, this type of concept art is really important, especially for the artists on the team who are helping develop and create the world around you. It kind of sets the mood for what we're trying to accomplish when environment art starts creating these assets and starts creating these environments, right? What's the type of visuals we're looking to achieve?
Yeah, it really helps us, right? Like we can only do so much on paper, and we have to start kind of visualizing the ideas, right? So kind of coming up with the space and what's going to fit and how's it going to look and all of these things that we want to coexist in this space, right? Like concept lets us know whether or not it's even possible. So looking at stuff like this is super exciting.
Yes. And as I said, we have a few updates to the system that we're going to go over in detail through this PowerPoint. But to start us off, let us ask a question. What exactly are freeholds? Freeholds obviously have a lot of different purposes within Ashes of Creation. However, three main purposes that freeholds provide are allowing really players an opportunity to kind of express themselves in a highly customizable fashion, right? So these are plots of lands that you have access to. You can build different types of buildings on. You can create housing and place furniture, and you can grow livestock, and you can just own this piece of land. And one unique thing about allowing the players to kind of express themselves through this manner in Ashes of Creation is that it's in the open world. So it's not an instance or a phase location that you are kind of customizing. You're actually leaving a mark on the world that's representative of you as a player, as a character, something you can role play. But importantly enough, when it comes to the economy, freeholds also provide the highest level of processing that's available. And processing is one of three primary branches that exist within the artisanship system. Processing is kind of the intermediary step between what you gather in the wild and what you eventually craft via recipes. The other primary purpose of freeholds is that they allow you to offer certain types of business services, right? Because we don't just want to make freeholds delegated to the individual owner. We want it to have capabilities to kind of interact with other players as they're walking past your freehold, as they're going to these hunting grounds and participating in quests or events that might be existing around. And that means that location matters for the freehold because it's important to the business. Have you guys ever, Corey, Bucky, Mike, have you guys ever played a game that's had a system as intricate as freeholds are in an MMO? Talk to me a little bit about your experiences.
There are housing systems in other MMOs, right? But but it's not as much ambitious of projects that we're trying to accomplish here. Right. There's always, putting some furnitures, putting some cosmetic stuff that's on the freehold to look nice, but we're trying to accomplish three major pillars, which is, looking unique, making impact in the economy, and I really love the part that we're trying to make a footprint onto the real world, that you are actually owning a piece of land in an MMO, and I think that's really cool.
I think it's super cool too. I've played games obviously that have housing systems, and they sometimes delegate, those housing locations to very specific areas that are off the beaten path and, aren't necessarily fully integrated into the rest of the world or certain environments and areas that players like to play in. And one thing that I like that we're achieving with the freehold system is really moving that into the world that players are a part of and doing things in. Here we're kind of, looking at a layout. And talk to me a little bit, Bucky, about, these different aspects of the types of buildings that you can place and the things that you can do on the freehold that we see here.
Yeah, for sure. Players will have a lot of freedom in what they choose to outfit their freehold with, and kind of like what you were talking about before. And in other games we've seen different housing systems where it's more kind of like plot based, and you're kind of locked into specific places for building stuff. But in ours, it's going to be you'll have a lot more freedom in where those buildings go, which buildings you choose, how many buildings you even want. If you want to just sacrifice maybe some building space for additional farming space, so players will have a lot of opportunity to customize the way their freehold looks and operates.
Yeah. Absolutely cool. I see that there is a shed that's listed there. Is that shed? Do we talk about that shed a little bit later in the presentation?
Yeah, we can touch on that later, I think.
Okay. Cool. All right. So you're obviously asking yourself, how do I own a freehold? Bucky, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of a multi-step process, but the first thing you'll have to do is you'll have to complete a quest to unlock the ability to even acquire the freehold permit. So once you do that quest line, you'll be able to go to the node and bid on an available freehold permit. If you're able to win the permit... Oh, sorry.
And real quick, Bucky, so the purpose of that quest is, these nodes aren't just going to grant the ability to own land within their zone of influence to anybody, right?
Exactly.
And so the quest is kind of a method by which the node gets to vet both the intent of the player who's attempting to own this parcel of land, but also whether or not they are up to the chops of actually owning and servicing a freehold, because it takes a lot to service these freeholds.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So talk to us a little bit about these parcels. Like, how do they exist around the node?
Yeah, so basically there'll be a variety of predetermined parcels of land in each node's zone of influence. And once players acquire their freehold permit, they'll be able to lay claim to any available parcel in the issuing node's region. So and by region we mean that any any node's region is the total combined territory of a node and all of its vassal nodes. So if you acquire a freehold permit in the metropolis of a huge region, almost 20% of the map, right? You'll be able to lay a claim to an available parcel anywhere within that region. So it gives you a lot of freedom if you're able to acquire the permit from a metropolis.
Yeah, now this is one of the first changes for those of you in our core audience who have been following development for a period of time now. You will know that because we are in active development, everything that relates to the design of the game is available to be iterated upon and changed. And so, as I said at the start of this, you're going to be seeing a little bit of changes to the systems, and we'll eventually show you here in game some of those systems. But you're going to see a little bit of change, and this is one of the first one, is that these are predetermined locations that exist around the node or under its vassal structure that you will have the ability to bid on. And to give you kind of a sense there, this allows us to customize a bit of those predetermined parcels, like a Sherwood Forest type of example, or the hills of
Verdant Glen or something.
Thank you, exactly. Thank you. Essentially, letting us kind of customize that, and then when you've taken the permit for that parcel, then you get to go and place your freehold plot out in that section of that area of the world, right? And nodes will have many parcels by which they are able to sell permits to, and it will be on a auction basis. So talk to us a little bit about that permit and what it looks like to lay that down, Bucky.
Sure, yeah. So it'll basically be an item in your bag, and once you you get to your parcel, you claim that piece of land, and then once it's claimed, you'll be able to use the item to go into top-down view and lay out actually exactly where your freehold will go on that parcel of land. And you'll have a lot of freedom.
Nice.
So a lot
Okay.
of that will be going through, looking at your whole area of land you now own, claim to, and then deciding where the best spot to put your freehold in there would be.
Awesome. And having this type of layout makes it so that in the world, when we talk about the visual fidelity and the kind of freehold density that might exist out in these open areas, we don't want it to be where you're running through the world and at every glance you see someone's freehold, right?
Exactly.
And what this allows us to kind of do is partition those spaces out so that there's a minimum distance essentially between the different freeholds.
Yeah, and there'll be places like where you won't be able to put a freehold even, right? Like a point of interest or roads or, a dungeon area. So the parcels will kind of be mapped around those areas as well.
Awesome. Very cool.
I also want to point out
Yeah.
the concept art of this piece is vastly different than what we showed earlier, so which kind of gives you the freedom of the placement of what you can do. This is like way more farming farming aesthetics
Industry.
where the gatherable are a whole bunch in the middle, and then there's like a storage mill kind of thing in the middle. So that's how much freedom that we want to offer players, how customizable a freehold can be.
Yeah, I love it. It's super cool. It's like we said, one of the first and most important aspects of the freehold system is that it's giving the players that level of customization to help them represent their identity, the identity of their character, right? Now, obviously, the freehold would not be a freehold without a house. That's the most important aspect of the freehold system. It's also what is the first necessary thing that you must build. Talk to us a little bit about housing.
Yeah, so as you can see here, we got some examples of the different sizes of houses you might be able to have on your freehold. And the first, like you said, the first building you need to build on the freehold is a house, and then once you do that, you're able to build other buildings like the different artisanship buildings or businesses we'll get to later.
And now before that house is present, what's on the freehold?
It's just an empty plot of land. All you have will be the little storage shed that gives you the base storage to be able to bring materials to your freehold and then make your construction.
Nice, awesome.
So
basically, as you acquire that house blueprint, you go and you preview the location of the house blueprint on the piece of land, and when you lay down the construction site, you're expected to bring materials through the caravan system or through the mule system, or even individually if you want to take many trips, to the location of the shed, and then deposit within that shed's storage. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it works.
Cool.
And then
and
once
what
you do
happens
that,
if I want to? No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, once you do that, you'll be able to initiate the construction and complete the house, and then proceed with your other thing.
Very cool. And so you were talking a little bit about the housing sizes, right? Small, medium, and large. These actually have mechanical influences around the design of the freehold system. Talk to us a little bit about what that size controls.
Yeah, well, one of the main things it'll control is your furniture allotment. So a small house, for example, might only be able to place, 100 furniture items, whereas a medium or large house would be able to place many more. And so that's kind of a balancing factor for players in determining if they want to have a larger house or have a smaller house and have more farmland, whereas they're sacrificing furniture then for that.
Got it. So space actually matters here. And when you talk about, that furniture having a functional benefit to the player, Corey, what are some examples of that, furniture system? I know we've talked in the past about some of these, but talk to me a little bit about the importance of having that furniture and how that furniture kind of gets placed. Can it be placed anywhere? Is it going to be placed on top of each other? Tell us a little bit about the furniture.
Yeah, placing the furniture is like one of the most fun, at least for me, parts of customizing, your place or your land, right? Like that's where you can really kind of express yourself and, oh, this looks like a good place to have a dining room. Oh, this looks like a good place to put my bed. Maybe this is looking really cozy. I'd like to do my cooking in here. I can place down a cooking station, right? So the other point too is that like not all furniture is just cosmetic, right? There could be functional furniture, and we're not talking just a chair that you can interact with and sit down with, but there might be something along the lines of furniture that gives you buffs or bolsters up some consumables that you may have, right? Like so there is more to the space that the house gives you to place the furniture, because that might allow you to get more function out of said furniture. So there's some thought that goes into whether or not you want more furniture space or less furniture space, more farmland, less farmland. It's pretty fun.
Absolutely. I love it when the furniture actually has a purpose, right? Outside of just the visual appearance and the aesthetic of the home, but is something that players are called to interact with because it provides a benefit in the game as well. Now, housing, of course, wouldn't be housing without the ability to customize that appearance. And you'll see here a few different examples of housing that's representative of at least 8 of the 9 different races. You'll notice that the Talnar aren't represented here, but they will be represented in the future. But the blueprint that we talked about earlier, when you acquire this blueprint, talk to me a little bit, Mike, about that process. Where do you kind of acquire these blueprints? What are the multiple ways that you can get them, essentially?
So a blueprint, like the basic ones, could be sold at a node, at a vendor, something similar to what a node is racial influences. So if it's a Kalar node, you should be able to buy a Kalar house. But it's interesting that we tie this system to a blueprint, because we can do so much more itemization portion of it. So we can drop it from a boss, we can make it from a scribe can write a blueprint that is very specific or unique look. And if you went to a Kalar node, maybe they'll sell a recipe to write a medium Kalar house, and if you go to a Renkai one, they'll just sell you a blueprint for a large Renkai house, right? So there is that acquisition of like blueprint collecting, and then you can sell that to other players when you.
I think my favorite out of this is Renkai. Renkai. I'm a green fan, so this is my weakness. That's okay. I think Renkai is my favorite.
Acquire unique housing blueprint from a boss, for example, right?
Oh yeah, that's super cool. I like the market implications that has, where you essentially can get these uniquely acquired blueprints, and then you can trade and sell them to other players who might not have had the same opportunity to acquire them that you had.
Sure.
And in addition to that, we have obviously cosmetics that we have sold as part of different packs throughout the past, our pre-order system. Those cosmetics are split into 3 primary categories: housing, artisanship, and business. And we will have a breakdown that we're going to be releasing of the cosmetics that have come previously and which categories they exist in. but players will have the option to override the appearance of a blueprint that exists within one of those categories with an associated cosmetic skin. And, that is obviously not just something that can be purchased through the pre-order system, but also can be achieved in game as well, are cosmetics that can be applied to specific building types. And we don't get as granular where, let's say, you might have a shrine cosmetic and you have, let's say, a blacksmith building, that you wouldn't be able to apply the shrine to the blacksmith building. If the shrine exists in the artisanship lane, you can apply it to any artisanship type building, but not to a house or a business. So giving a little bit of additional context there. So what are businesses, you might ask, after hearing that category? Businesses serve a specific function. Mike, do you want us to talk to us a little bit about businesses?
Business building is a category where we wanted to kind of branch out of just artisanship buildings, right? So things like taverns, things like market kind of thing, where you can install a player stall so other people can come and visit your freehold. And
Businesses.
buy things
That's
that just
crazy.
unique to tie to you. Or other services like taverns where you could sell a food buff that's unique to your tavern, or something that you can kind of invest and then build so you can have a service building that's near to a POI that's really populated, so you can help players to, maybe gain more XP buff, things like that. And this is the perfect place where we can express that and then allow players to customize their freehold even more. We wanted to branch out from artisanship, just only that, and then have more options for it.
Very cool. I love it. I love the idea of not just the business as a whole and how it relates to kind of other players and their ability to kind of traverse the world and see what you've accomplished, but allowing players to customize the offerings that the business is capable of providing based on what they're creating as an artisanship member, or even what they can acquire from other players to offer through their business as well. And one additional note here is that, freeholds are meant to be a part of the family system, meaning that to utilize the benefits the freehold and the services and mechanics that the freehold provides, it is very conducive to be part of a family with multiple members who are capable of interfacing with this. And because of that, systems like the business system allow for certain permissions to be granted to administer the business functions, and that includes things like setting prices and setting types of sellables that are, or services that are capable of being sold through the business.
Yeah, it's also a great mention there too, is that the fact that freeholds, there's not going to be a ton of parcels all over the world. It might not be feasible for every player to get one, but even if you're if you can be a family member and you have a whole family owning a freehold together, it'll allow many more players to see the system and partake in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that aspect of the freeholds. Now, speaking of a tavern, and we've obviously talked in the past about having upgrades available for these types of buildings. Let's use this tavern as an example of the types of upgrades that are possible. Talk me through this, what we're looking at here, this tree upgrade path.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So this is something I'm super excited about. This is this is an idea that surfaced through another system that I'm sure we'll get to see in the future, right? And it was one of those like, oh well, that's fun. Like, why can't we have that? And it just sort of played out perfectly that buildings could have upgrade paths to make them better or worse or more specific in a certain lane of specialization, based on like how you're trying to set up your freehold, right? So the idea is you place down the building, and as you become more proficient in a thing, in the case of artisanship, or as you work within the business building, you could build up the building to be better at some things than others. So what we're looking at here is just kind of an example of that, right? Like we have this tavern, we placed it down, And we're really focused on wanting people to come by here and gain extra experience or rested experience, because it's maybe our freehold's really close to a nice hunting spot. So we'll upgrade our tavern to have these upgraded feather beds, to give players that bonus, right? And all of the things that you just went over, Stephen, about being able to set the permissions and decide who you want this to apply to, how expensive it should be, right? You could be that guy that's got the tavern that's helpful to the guild. You could be the person where people like to stop by and hang out for a bit, get the rested experience and some food buffs before they go out hunting, right? And this allows people to have their freeholds next to each other and have their own niches of things that they offer to themselves, to the people that they play with, or to the public. So
absolutely cool. Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
love that. And to give kind of a primer here, we're looking at specifically this upgrade to the tavern type business, which includes the ability to offer beds to weary travelers, right? And beds have a specific functionality. We were talking previously about furnitures offering in-game mechanics. One of those functionalities that beds provide is a rested experience buff that can be applied. This is obviously going to be kind of at the top tier of what travelers can expect to utilize at taverns when it comes to these beds. That's important because one other aspect of the freeholds is that freeholds are a privilege, not a right, meaning that there is a limited number of freeholds that will be available within the game world. And that's a very important aspect of this particular feature. And remember that housing exists within 3 different types. Freeholds are just one of those types of housings. Housing also exists as static in node versions as well as instanced, and there's also an additional feature that we haven't, I believe, discussed before, which is the inn. And the inn can service as a temporary living space that doesn't have restriction on the quantity, but has a soft ceiling when it comes to the citizenship dues that might be accrued at a node. So if you didn't own a freehold out in a location or hunting ground where you would be participating in some type of adventuring or quest, and you see a tavern with a bed available, you may want to make a stop there and utilize the bed so that when you go out to the nearby hunting ground, you get that rested experience. And that's an important aspect of this. This is very cool. I love the aspect of the upgrade paths and being able to specialize in the specific types of buildings that you construct. Now, let's say, for example, in this situation, I've constructed a tavern, and I have spec'd into this tier 2 branch of the feathered beds. If I wanted to have the opposite direction in the technology branch here, how would I be able to service that? Would I have to stand up another tavern and then spec into that branch there?
Well, technically you'd have that option, right? You could repurpose the current tavern that you have, or you could build yourself another tavern if you're willing to give up the space and do more.
Absolutely cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. And remember, one of the go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
So I just want to say there's a key point of real estate in the freehold. There is limited amount of space, right? It's really up to the player to give that choice. Like, is this additional buffs on a new tavern building worth what I'm giving up for another building, right? Like, that's a very interesting take that players needs to make make freeholds efficient.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And just to remind you guys, again, these are the systems we will be testing in Alpha 2, and it's important that you guys provide feedback across these types of systems. Tell us what you like, what you think could be done better, and as you play test them in Alpha 2, and as you watch other players play test these systems, afterwards, that is going to be our opportunity to take the feedback and iterate on the system. So it's important to kind of focus in on these details. Now, outside of businesses, let's talk a little bit about artisanship, and more specifically, processing as it exists within the freeholds, and how the freehold ties into the artisanship as a whole. Corey.
Yeah, so we talked about the 3 lanes of the buildings, right? And artisanship is one of them. So the way that we're sort of tying that in is that each crafting and processing profession will have a building associated with it, right? So before you can place any sort of stations down that are associated with that crafting or processing profession, you'll have to construct your building. And once the building is constructed, right, it has that similar tech tree thing going on, right? So you can spec it in the direction that you'd like it to go, and maybe that synergizes or balances out the way that you're speccing your profession. It gives you access to placing stations. It gives you access to placing more stations. And then we also have some benefits that are conferred by the building itself to all of the things related on the freehold. So let's say there's some sort of weaponsmithing bonus given by a weaponsmithing building. That would mean that your weaponsmithing stations on your freehold would incur that bonus. So
very cool. Yeah, I really like the aspect of, some games take a direction that departs a bit from realism, and I think ultimately the end goal of any system that you implement into a game is to have fun, right? Is that gameplay loop there fun? And I feel personally, and this is just a completely subjective opinion, but I feel personally when you can achieve a high degree of fun and also achieve a high degree of realism in the process, that's the type of MMO experience I personally enjoy a lot. And I think that with this freehold system and emulating that realistic kind of process of, what processing looks like, and we're going to get into a little bit of detail on that about how these processing stations work that are afforded through the processing buildings that you can construct. I just think that's something that's really cool. It gets me immersed. It gets me kind of the suspension of disbelief is really there, and I'm just enamored by what that play experience is.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a big time like factory sim player, I love setting up these processing chains of raw resources to process to craft. I feel like we're going at a really fun level for players that are going to enjoy going out in the world gathering, taking those raw resources that are free to be processed, and then taking that to the node to do the highest level crafting, right? That's just a really fun and engaging loop. I think
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm very excited about it as well. I'm a pretty crafting artisanship focused player myself, and I appreciate depth. I appreciate fun, and I appreciate complexity to a limit, right? So this is stuff for me to think about as a player. I have my own space. I get to manage that space. I get to decide, what I want to do with it. I get to decide how I want it to synergize with the professions I've chosen. I can make a name for myself. I can make social connections by the way that I express myself as whatever profession I'm into. And freehold is.
I really love the addition of the fuel and kind of
in the state a journeyman level.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, speaking of processing, talk to us a little bit about the process of processing.
Yeah, we'll do. So, processing. Each processing profession will have 4 stations, and the stations will come online as you progress through the profession. Each one of those stations will make goods that are immediately useful to the economy, to crafters, to other processors, and each processing station will build on itself into the other stations, right? So you'll end up kind of at the end, if you do end up going all the way to master or grandmaster, being able to kind of circle between the stations and make different stuff depending on what you want to make. So in addition to using kind of resources in your recipes, we also want to use fuel as a way to run your station.
Yeah, that's super cool. The fuel is I think an awesome kind of talking a little bit about, again, that realistic kind of process. I really love the addition of the fuel and kind of the complexity as that fuel interacts with the type of processed good that you're creating. I think that's a really cool system.
Yeah, it's like players are. I feel like players are definitely used to that. With for example, iron ore. For example, you'd expect that to require some coal, some wood pellets, right, to complete that recipe. But even I think that's just gonna be something where we have core to processing, where any recipe you'll do is going to require some level of fuel. So even at a sawmill, right, processing your lumber, you will also require fuel to run, and that's kind of going to be something players will
learn what are good fuels, what resources can work as a fuel, and what's the meta there.
Yeah, definitely getting dialed in with the economy and understanding, what's the price efficiency of using, wood chips versus coal for, a particular recipe, and kind of looking at what your returns are based on those decisions is just like, that's so cool that you even get to think about any of those things, right? And then just within the fuel
is what makes a lot of these systems compelling, right, to a degree. So let's talk a little bit about the depth and progression when it comes to the lumber mill. This is an example of an artisanship building, specifically a processing building. Corey, talk to me a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so this is a example similar to what we were looking at with the tavern, but sort of following a lumber mill, right? Like players will need to place a lumber mill to advance in their lumber milling profession.
Christ.
And you'll be able to kind of spec it based on what you want to focus on as a lumber miller. So what we're looking at here is this arcane golem, and it allows you to process. Process jobs reducing resource, and the fuel and gold cost of processing is dropped by 20%, right? So this one's sort of focusing on cost and efficiency, and there might be other lanes or other particular skills that you can pick up that might focus on more yield, maybe rarity procs, stuff like that, right? So what's really interesting is that you can kind of take these trees and apply it to your skill tree in your profession, and sort of balance or hyper focus, or fill in the gaps that you're missing as you progress.
Yeah, and as you can see, the Arcane Golem is kind of like the final, like ultimate end talent at this specific skill tree. And so you can see on the bottom left, there's already a couple different active upgrades that are already applying bonuses to all the stations on the freehold that are related to the lumber mill. So you see we have double saw, improved permit, gear system, station maintenance, stuff like that. So it'll be a kind of a culmination. Once you fully spec out your building, it'll have a variety of benefits it'll be adding to those stations.
And as you kind of spec into these specific types of upgrades, the building itself manifests props and attachments to it that represent these different upgrade paths. So it's a really kind of cool thing to see exist kind of on the freehold. It gives also indication to the other players as to what specializations you focused on.
Yeah, definitely. Like that same, we're hoping to get that same feeling where you walk by that person and you're like, holy shit, that's that sword.
Yes.
You could walk by someone's tavern and be like, oh, they got the bar in the window. Like I can just roll up there and get myself a quick snack and a drink, and head on out to the hunting grounds. Or they went down a certain path for the lumber mill upgrade, and they know that this is probably the processor that you want to reach out to for all of your wood needs.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so guys, as we said, this was a little bit of an experiment, kind of prefacing this particular system, the freehold system, before we get in game and take a look. Bucky, I think you have a freehold somewhere in the Riverlands, perhaps by some interesting mining options that we're going to take a look at now. Hopefully we don't get killed on the way. But give us your feedback on what you enjoyed or thought could have been done better about this PowerPoint kind of presentation of the system, so that we get a little bit more nitty-gritty details of this. And we're going to do some Q&A after the gameplay. But right now, let's talk a little bit about and go in game and take a look at some farming. Let's take a look at the livestock and those interactions, because I know that those two specific interactions on freeholds is near and dear to a lot of different players' hearts. And then in addition, there's going to be a little bit of discussion about our inventory management system. I've told you a little bit in the past that we have gone with a kind of Tetris-styled inventory when it comes to materials and raw gatherables. So we're going to take a look. The first iteration of that, of course, everything here is a work in progress. We are still active in development towards Alpha 2. So take everything you see with a grain of salt, but obviously participate on our forums, on social media channels, here in Twitch, on the things you're liking in what you've seen and what you would like to see done differently. One other thing I think we're going to take a look at when we get in there is some of the housing, some of the furniture, interacting with some of that furniture as well. You might even get a look at a new little mount. But let's switch over to in-game, and we will see you guys in just a second. Hello, everyone, and we find ourselves now in the world of Vera once again. And Bucky, I think you were talking a little bit about a freehold that you have nearby in the Riverlands here, where we're going to perhaps participate in some of your... What do you got on that freehold? What are you doing over there?
So we got a lot of farming stuff, mainly is what we're focusing on, but we also have a artisan building as well.
Oh,
as
nice.
a forge station, because we got some good mining opportunities out here.
Okay,
So-
very cool. And I see you kind of are close to these ruins with your freehold, I guess. Is there any happening spots around this area for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got some mob packs around here. Players are coming through here a lot to,
Ooh.
obviously get the this nice resource here. We got some alacanite.
Is that why you formed your freehold near this precious resource? Talk to me a little bit about this resource, Corey and or Mike.
Oh yeah, that's so this is halcyon. It's a kind of a mid-tier journeyman gem, and yeah, it's just got sort of something you would use in weapons and for decorations,
Nice.
jewelry. So it's pretty sought after for a lot of crafts. So it's pretty valuable.
I love just its look. I mean, it adds a really kind of magical blues to this area. Wow, this is a beautiful... Now, Bucky, I know why you made your freehold here. This is a beautiful view.
Yep, just another beautiful day in Vera.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever get, like, afraid of heights here? I mean, this is kind of crazy. I think
Not too
actually
bad.
I might have something that could help you with this. Hold on, let me see. I can just bring it up here, and then if you ever need to use it one day, feel free to. You're more than welcome.
Oh yes, beautiful, perfect. Oh, it's
Yeah.
even on theme for the fall weather.
I know, exactly. It's a Drake of the Canopy.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you ever want to take him for a spin, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, there you go. Actually, I'll put him away. He's kind of
Yeah,
afraid
he's-
of heights himself.
Oh.
So I can mine this. So I've maxed out my artisanship levels through a little bit of a cheat, but if you have the tools, and oops, do I have the tools? Okay, guys, you're seeing a little bit of a preview of some of the work in progress UI with the artisanship windows, and obviously you have a number of tools here that are possible. This UI, of course, is getting completely revamped. This is just kind of the wireframing for it. But talk to me a little bit about the tool setup. Why is it important to have these kind of tools? How do tools aid you in your gathering adventures?
Yeah, so each gathering profession will have 3 tools. The tools kind of come online as you progress through the profession, and the different resource types for each one of the profession may require different tools. So you basically want to carry around the right tool for the job, and tools along with artisanship gear will have stats on it. So you can itemize towards how you want to gather, how fast you want to gather. Yeah.
Oh, it looks great. I love the the destruction of the actual, like, is it halcyanite? Halcanite? What is
Halcyanite.
Yeah, halcyanite. Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
we sort of set the precedent with the trees, right? So we're trying to get similar feelings that the trees bring with our other gatherables.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
looking great.
Now, where is your freehold?
It's just over this hill here, off to the left of the path. I think you might be able to see my the house there with the chimney smoke as well.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, off there, see it?
Yeah, that looks good. How do we? Let's get over there a little bit faster. Maybe we can.
Oh yeah.
What do we got? Oh, I don't think people have seen the Lightfoot yet.
Very nice.
Let's bring him out. Oh, look at him. How cool is that? Oh, he looks so good.
It does look good.
I love the eyes.
Yeah, it looks good.
Super cool. Do we know who did this one? Was this Jinsey?
I think it was.
I believe it was a
Jinsey,
Jinsey, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this guy's fast.
Yeah, it's high speed.
It is a rabbit after all, you know.
It's so cool. Wait, we got to slow it down a little bit. I can't approach at such fast pace to your freehold. That would be disrespectful. I apologize.
Yes,
Here
thank
we
you.
go.
Don't
That's-
trample my plants, please. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. This is great.
The horde of rabbits.
So, what have you geared? It looks like, I mean, you don't have a lot of buildings on the freehold for yours, Bucky. Is that because you're kind of trying to utilize the land for farming and I know, of course, you are Dr. Bucky, so the animal husbandry system and like
That's
livestock.
right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I sacrificed some of the space I could have used for buildings to just have more farm space, basically. So, as you can see here, we got some, we got some sheeps, we got some cows and pigs, and we got some chickens back there, and we have a lot of space for different farmables. So we have wheat here, corn, and then the tomatoes over there as well.
Oh, this looks great. So now, Mike, when we're talking about, these types of farmable spaces, obviously, as we discussed previously, the customization options for your freehold are really kind of up to you and what you want to delve into on the processing side of things and how you want to use the space. But players who want to participate in the farming, talk to me a little bit about that system. I mean, the intent, excuse me, to provide this open area space for people to utilize just growing different crop rotations and the livestock, and how does that feed the general processing system?
Yeah, so the farming is going to generally focus on growing crops like this and then dealing with livestock over there like that. But
nice.
Generally what you want to do is gather some seeds from either vendor or in the world. You can find some seeds on the open content, and you're going to come to your freehold, plant them, and then depending on what kind of processing level you have and what kind of processing stations or buildings you might have, you might grow crops like a little faster.
Nice.
Produce like better crop rotations, and just generally farm things that's unique to farming produce, like compared it to in the open world.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just got a bunch of wheat, by the way. I apologize, Bucky, on stealing your wheat, but
No, go for it. I got plenty. It's harvest season. We got a big crop coming. I need some help getting all the harvest done.
Yeah, it looks super cool.
Another cool thing about farming too, since it has the livestock, is that it kind of feeds directly into hunting and synergizes with animal husbandry. So if you're interested in raising animals, taming animals, farmers will have a use for them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, animal husbandry has multiple lanes of ways to breed and specialize your creatures, and mounts and pets are one of the more popular ones, but then obviously livestock as well. So not only can you breed your animals for traits such as like movement speed and health and different combat stats, but you also be able to breed them for desirable traits like, fertility, increased harvesting yield, and even increased yield from butchering.
What are you guys doing? Oh my god, that is awesome.
This is
leave our eggs alone.
Makes them more comfortable with you taking their eggs away. So
leave our eggs alone.
Yeah, they won't peck us if we come with their style here.
Very nice, very nice. I just got some eggs. Okay, now, one of the other things that we wanted to obviously collect player feedback on, and I'm going to open up the inventory just to kind of take a look at the materials resource bag. Talk to me a little bit about how we are implementing resources differently from your general item inventory.
So we're taking an approach from other games, but the idea of resources is gonna have somewhat of a slot base. Instead of having a slot base like traditional MMO, we're gonna look for like a Tetris kind of idea of having different shapes and different stack sizes, kind of like that, to make some interesting choices out in the world, where you have to do inventory management and have a pick and choose depending on like what you have available, what kind of bags you have.
Now, I seem to have kind of run out of space. Maybe I can grab. Do you have any?
Oh yeah,
other
if you want, you
material?
can come put some stuff in the chest in the house, or are your bags too
Okay.
small, or what's?
Yeah, no, I only have
Yeah.
one bag. It's called a Sanctus Resource bag.
Oh yeah, I got some extra bags for you. Actually, you could take some around my chest.
Oh,
Got
this
some
is a,
upgraded
this is
bag.
a nicely decorated home here.
Yeah, that looks good.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you
Yes.
have the you have the. Oh man, I can't remember what we called this, but this was for the pandemic. Everyone who I think registered prior to a certain date during the pandemic, Margaret will know. We granted this item to people, or will be granted to people. That's cool. It's modeled. Look at that. I think Ryan Richmond actually did the modeling for that, and then John Waynick did the implementation. Very cool. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Where's the chest I can grab?
Right here by the fireplace.
Oh, okay, sweet. Let me see here. Materials. Oh, okay. All right. So, what do I do here? Just grab this.
Yeah, you can just take them all and swap it out, I think.
I'll equip them. Oh, okay, cool. I have some. Now, this is obviously work in progress UI. This is not the final UI, but this kind of demonstrates the
That's
functionality
interesting.
of the system. Let me go over here. What can I do with these sheep?
You can harvest them for wool. Shoot them.
All right. This is not going to hurt them, is it?
No.
No. Okay.
If you do a good job.
Oh, pretty
Shooting is
sheep.
a non-destructive
Pretty
crop.
sheep.
Yes.
Give me your wool.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Hi.
gave me some wool
Hi,
and now it's naked. That's so sad.
It'll grow back.
Oh, how so talk to, perfect. That's a good point. So it'll grow back. Talk to me a little bit about kind of, the intent behind the livestock here and the crops as well. Like you're planting and you're placing these livestock on farmable space within your freehold, and then over time they mature and become processable, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. Certain things, like for the crops, for example, you need to acquire seeds first, which can be acquired through a number of ways. But once you plant them, you'll have to water them and care for them, and then after a certain point, depending on the crop itself, would be when you can harvest them, and then you can replant them at that point. And then for animals, different animals have different, sort of byproducts they can get. Like, so for example, from the cow, you can milk them and get some fresh milk.
Oh my god! But they have horns. Are these the right cows?
Oh, there's
to milk?
udders. There's udders down there.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's udders.
Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, I got like a little stool. Wow, that's some rapid-paced milking. Holy smokes! That was crazy. Hold on, let me make sure I got the milk. Oh, we did get the milk. Let me pull it down here. Pull some corn down as well.
Do
Make a
some
little bit of
reorganization
space.
there.
Yeah, kind of just reorganizing things.
Yeah, another sort of interesting thing that you'll see with livestock and other types of things that you can gather is you'll be able to kind of choose the things that you want to gather from it, right? Bucky had mentioned animal byproducts, right? And milk is a byproduct of a cow, and so is beef. So it's up to you, kind of how and when you want to harvest your livestock in certain ways. And same with plants. Maybe you want to take the corn, and maybe you want to cut down the entire corn plant to make room for other crops, and there's different byproducts depending on how you interact with that gatherable. So
now this is going to be another point of good player feedback. So one, we kind of talked to you and showed you guys a little bit of the systems for planting crops on your freehold, for raising livestock, collecting resources from them. And then the Tetris inventory type system. But this one is more game philosophy / immersion, right? And what you're going to see now, I think, for those of you who are a bit squeamish, if you want to turn away, understandable. But we're going to get some leather. And what else from this guy?
Meat. Yeah.
Some meat.
Kind of whatever you'd expect from a pig.
Yep. Bacon.
All right. Well, all right. I apologize, little buddy.
You had a good long life.
You did have a good long life.
Happy life on the farm, and now.
Oh God, go to sleep.
now.
Oh, we got the hide and the meat. But it's... Oh, that's sad. Is it? It's just sleeping? Is it tired? That was intensive.
Yeah,
for sure. It's sleeping.
It's sleeping, yeah. Don't worry. Let's go, yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Oh.
Sorry, little piglets.
Oh, no, not the piglets.
Okay.
No.
We'll take good care of you.
No, let them live a little bit of a life.
One day you'll become big, and then we'll.
So, guys, that's a great point of player feedback. Talk to us a little bit about how real/immersive do you want it to be, or do you prefer that perhaps the pigs don't die, but rather they just go to sleep? That's a good question, I think, for a lot of people to give their thoughts on. Okay, so now we have. I'm seeing over here, there's another building. Obviously, we have the home here. We went inside a little bit. This other building, talk to me a little bit about that. We talked a little bit in the presentation about the profession buildings and them giving access to workstations. What do we have here?
So this is the artisan building that we talked about, and then these give general benefits to the freehold. It could be profession specific, it could be just general specific, but it also gives you like access to putting down stations like this. So this would be the metalworking station.
Oh, nice. Okay. And I see that this station's pretty intensive, and that's, I think, something we're going to be showing in a future stream, which is all about the crafting process and the recipe acquisition and the tools, but also a little bit of a gameplay layer that Corey, Mike, you guys have been working on with crafting in the future that we're going to show. But this one's all about processing. And talk to me a little bit about, we talked a little bit about what it takes to go into the fuel, to prep the station, to do the processed goods, and then kind of leaving and letting that, process over time. Do you expect that players are going to want to like fully kit out their freeholds with the profession building so they have access to all the stations? What would be the benefit of that?
I think so, right? Like, if players are really interested in investing in processing, right? Freeholds are supposed to kind of give the players the furthest reach up to the highest tiers of processing. So, if you want to, allocate most of your space in your freehold for processing buildings, processing stations, you could create like kind of your own processing plant or factory, and really sort of have a stranglehold on a market or particular goods. So the freehold is supposed to be free space for players to kind of do whatever they'd like, decorate housing, have businesses, or create a processing empire. So
cool, very cool. Well, I did get some supplies. Whoops. I did get some supplies. Bucky, do you want me to like put this in the chest or anything, or?
Yeah, you can just empty out and store it here in my chest for now, so you can go out.
Tomato plants?
Oh yeah, that's right. Just forgot to harvest these.
Oh. Let's see. Get some other ones here. Very nice. Aw, some more exploded. Oh no.
Well, you got some at least, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we're good. All right, let me go put this inside. Wait, let me make sure I actually did get the tomatoes.
Probably got a full bag at this point, almost.
Did I? Oh, I did get some tomatoes. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna go put this
right here.
I'm gonna go put this in for you. Now, you've obviously done a great job with the decorations here on the furniture, and we don't intend furniture to obviously just be visual aspect of the interior, but functional as well. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously we've seen here the chest, right? The chest is a placeable furniture prop that actually increases the storage capacity of your freehold property. But we're going to have a variety of other functional furnitures, like besides just even the artisanship stations. So for example, we have a bed over here, which you'll be able to sleep in as well, get some rest experience perhaps. Also, we'll have chairs. Those are just like kind of cosmetic you'll be able to sit in. And but yeah, there'll be a variety of functional prop items as well that'll have actual gameplay uses.
Nice. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm just putting all this stuff into your storage chest, so you have it.
Very nice. Free labor.
I see you have some pictures in here as well.
Yep. That's the picture I commissioned to myself.
Oh, is this it? Is that you?
Yes.
It is actual Bucky.
Me in armor.
It's actual Bucky. That is so great.
I think this is your favorite, Steven.
Yes,
Yeah,
the sandals. Oh, that's so
classic.
awesome. That is super cool. Now, obviously, players that we talked a little bit about businesses and how players can kind of stand up different taverns and whatnot. And Bucky, you had stated like one of the reasons why you wanted to have your freehold here in this location was because of some of the access to the rare resources. But there's also some interesting hunting grounds nearby. And, you know, one of the things that is interesting about the freehold system is that it's not just architected for processing, but it can also be a profitable location based on where and what you're providing other players access to from a like drink and food tavern perspective, right?
Yeah, we mentioned it before, like there's business types of buildings that you can build. Some of these could be very region specific, like if there was a hunting ground nearby that is very populated, we could set up a tavern, sell like food buffs and drinks that is really good for XP bonuses or increase to your loot chance or something like that. Whatever that may increase some kind of a benefit to the player that is good business, like I said, would be set up here where you could just take advantage of the populated player area.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I love it. And you were saying, you know, obviously having access to an open world where you're not necessarily restricted to the locations that you can place these freeholds, but allowing the players to kind of place them themselves. Obviously, we are going to block out certain areas that can't be placed, like certain road networks and POIs, but generally the intent is to provide these freeholds as layable plots in the open world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So as long as you purchase a certificate from the owning node of the land, you'll be able to place it in many places around the node, like just basically anywhere that's not like a you know, dungeon or a point of interest with monsters. You'll be able to place it in a lot of areas. So players will have a lot of freedom in choosing where they want to build their freehold and lay down their plot. So it'll be a big, like obviously here, like you said, I was looking at the, you know, we got the mines over there, we got the point of interest, but we also have this large flat area for a lot of farming.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a good mix for this freehold.
Yeah. Super cool. Love it. Bucky, you have a very cool freehold. You know,
let's talk a little bit about studio updates.
That's
There's
good.
one big one that I know folks have been asking about, and we're
Yes.
like, is that person going to be on the stream?
No,
Homies,
no.
I'm going to let you know, as someone who was on a live stream and did an AMA my first week starting, that's wild.
Hey, that you were a trooper. You're a trooper. That
I
was great.
downloaded everything and every piece of information I possibly could.
Yeah, so studio update. Some of you might have seen an announcement. We have brought on an absolutely glorious individual by the name of Bill Trost. Funny enough, Bill was the first person I had ever interviewed, John and I ever interviewed for Intrepid Studios. But he joins us as of 2 weeks ago. He has a rich history and a very tremendous amount of experience, having shipped multiple MMOs. And he brings his wealth of knowledge to the team. He's worked with many of the people in our studio over the course of his long tenure as a game developer, and he is currently in the process of catching up to speed as much as possible. So it wasn't quite appropriate for us to invite him on this stream, but I'm sure in a future stream you guys will have an opportunity to meet and listen to Bill and chat with him. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and we've done a few of those where you get to meet and you know, learn more about some of the developers, but we usually like to tie that in with a system that they're working on or some kind of content piece. Otherwise, we also get people who are mad because they're like, show us game. We don't want to hear about this person. So it's finding a balance of like, we are people, but we also are trying to make a product for you and show progression in that. And hopefully you've been seeing that as we move forward. And next month's live stream is also going to be a very long one. So prepare yourself for that.
Oh my goodness. That you think this one was
And with that, I think we'll go into our Q&A to wrap things up because we've been holding you downloaded everything and it let's talk a little bit about studio updates. There's one big one that I know folks have been
Really
asking
Googling
about. And
results.
like, is that person going to be on the stream?
No,
Homies, I'm going to let you know, as someone who was on a live stream and did an AMA my first week starting, that's wild.
Hey, you were a trooper. You're a trooper. That
I
was great.
downloaded everything and every piece of information I possibly could.
Yeah, so studio update. Some of you might have seen an announcement. We have brought on an absolutely glorious individual by the name of Bill Trost. Funny enough, Bill was the first person I had ever interviewed. John and I ever interviewed for Intrepid Studios. But he joins us as of 2 weeks ago. He has a rich history and a very tremendous amount of experience, having shipped multiple MMOs. And he brings his wealth of knowledge to the team. He's worked with many of the people in our studio over the course of his long tenure as a game developer, and he is currently in the process of catching up to speed as much as possible. So it wasn't quite appropriate for us to invite him on this stream, but I'm sure in a future stream you guys will have an opportunity to meet and listen to Bill and chat with him. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and we've done a few of those where you get to meet and learn more about some of the developers, but we usually like to tie that in with a system that they're working on or some kind of content piece. Otherwise, we also get people who are mad because they're like, show us game. We don't want to hear about this person. So it's finding a balance of like, we are people, but we also are trying to make a product for you and show progression in that. And hopefully you've been seeing that as we move forward. And next month's live stream is also going to be a very long one. So prepare yourself for that.
Oh my goodness. That you think this one was
And with that, I think we'll go into our Q&A to wrap things up because we've been holding you all as long as we can so far, but we do have a few more questions, and some of them are specifically Freehold related and others are not. So we'll go through
I will just say that many people are asking for a leak. I'm not going to give a leak, but I am just going to say that next month, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be next month. There's a slight possibility it might be the month after, but next month, the hint will be send nodes.
Steven.
What? No, nodes. Send nodes.
I know.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to leak something from PI meeting. Someone might have said the wrong word at one point during the PI meeting. Calling you out, Roshan. It was so funny. We were all laughing so hard. Anyways, moving on, we've got our questions here. So these were pulled from the forums. Reminder that we do sometimes do these. We might not do one for next month, but we do have a couple Q&As slotted for Steven outside. We'll see how that goes. But for this one, this is from Songrune, which that's such a beautiful name. Their question is about Freehold plot placement. Will it be possible to choose the direction your freehold is facing and buildings are facing on your plot, particularly when using cosmetics from pre-order packs, or will this already be determined by the plot you choose?
The answer to those questions are yes, yes, and yes. So you can manipulate the orientation of the freehold plot. You can manipulate the orientation of the particular buildings.
And items.
And items, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
a heavy degree of customization. And by the way, those systems are in place for the furniture placements and the props. It's just pending kind of UI treatments because
that's
right
good.
now it's all program art. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with game development, UI and visual effects and audio are often the most taxed teams because they tend to be at the end of each pipeline. So
praise them, and QA. So all four of those teams are like, please give us the thing as early as possible.
And just to give context for why they're typically at the end of the pipeline of development for many systems and or content is because you want to have all the iteration done for a particular animation or system or whatever before you get to the phase of the audio, visual effects, or the UI.